All right, everyone, a very good morning from the, from the airport anyways, from the pavement next to our airplane, and hello once again. Welcome to the stream with me, Captain Nabs, where we're going to be doing another Twitch live stream of a pilot's life. So it's been a little while since I have done a pilot's life stream. All of the month of February, I was basically taking a little bit of a break from it, doing something completely different. So for those of you that did join me, I did the Patagonia bush trip in MSFS, and I thought it was great fun. I really had a blast doing it. It was long. There's no doubt about it. It was definitely a long trip. It took quite a while to get it all done, but it was definitely a lot of fun. I'm just going to turn down that background noise for a second because we are getting a little bit of background noise in there. But we are back today. We're back to our pilot's life career. We're getting down back into it, and wow, what a lot of stuff has transpired. And I realized I'm not on the webcam, so let me just throw myself back up on the webcam. There I am, and of course my green screen is showing up now. It's correcting my colors, and of course it's not working out for me here. So let's see if I could just get rid of that really quickly without making myself invisible. And sometimes that's a little bit of a challenge. I think that's kind of a happy medium right there. Yeah. There we go. That's a little better. All right. But yeah, so much stuff has happened since the last time I had a chance to stream a pilot's life. And really the big thing is what you're looking at right in front of you. And for those of you that can't figure it out from looking at this screen, obviously we've got a nice new livery here. We've got lots of nice new liveries for JetBlue. So it's going to be a fun season of JetBlue flying with a whole bunch of fancy new liveries. But the real thing that's really exciting down here, and it says 1-800-JetBlue on it, is the IAE engines are now here. So Fenix did release in the last month. They released version 2 Block 2 of their Fenix A320 aircraft, now featuring the IAE engines as well as the CFMs. You have your choice depending on what your airline flies. You have a choice between both of them. So JetBlue, I didn't know this because I didn't know this. I'm not very familiar with JetBlue. I did not realize that they actually did not have CFM engines on any of their Airbuses, that they are actually an IAE operator. So I'm going to have to get used to operating this IAE engine instead of the CFMs. It's going to be an adventure. I did take a few flights with it just to see what's different, and it operates much the same, but the start process, you notice, is a little bit different. You'll notice, of course, the indications are a little bit different. So we're going to get in there and get this underway, but we're going to talk about some of the other stuff, because I have to say that Block 2 of version 2 fixed almost every problem I had with the Fenix, and then some, and it added a whole bunch more features as well, but there were issues, there were glitches, there were bugs in the previous version of the A320. Nothing big, but things that if you've dealt with the real airplane, you're like, that's not quite right. That needs to change just a little bit. It's just not quite right. With the exception of like maybe two things now, two really tiny and insignificant details. Almost everything else that I noticed that was wrong with the airplane was fixed, and I will point this out as we go through it, because it's just fantastic that it happens now. So that's what we're doing today. So today's flight, anyways, I spent a long time ranting, and I haven't even talked about what are we going to do today. Well, you can see it at the top of the screen, anyways, and if you read the title card to the stream, you know what we're going to do. Today we are resuming a pilot's life. So today's flight, we're actually doing a double header today. So we're starting off in San Juan, Puerto Rico, TJSJ, and we're just going a quick short jaunt over to Punta Cana, MDPC over in the Dominican Republic, and then we're going to turn around and just go back. It's a simple kind of turn, but it's so seldom. I don't think since I started flying the 320 in a pilot's life have I gotten a turn in there. Have we done a second flight after the first one? So it's going to be, I think it's going to be great to kind of get that in there and see a real-time turn. So I have actually put together a schedule for it today. So I have it over here on the side of my screen, if I can point, yeah, in the way that you can see anyways. But I've got departure at 15:20 Zulu, which is, I believe that is 10:20 local time, and arrive 1 hour and 5 minutes later in Punta Cana at 16:25 Zulu, 35 minutes to turn around, unload, load, replan the flight, head back, and land back in San Juan by 18:05 Zulu. So I've actually got a schedule. I'm going to try something different this season, or something new anyways, and I'm going to try and set the schedule ahead of time and do my best to stick to it. as best I can. So if we're going to make this schedule, and we are supposed to depart in 29 minutes, we probably have to start getting going here. But that is our flight for today. We're going San Juan, Punta Cana, and back. So we are going to hop in the flight deck and we are going to start this thing, because otherwise we're not going to probably get out of here on time. Alright, so let me just do a little reset there. That's better. Hop in the flight deck, and the first thing we do, because the external power is already on, the mechanics probably threw it on there, that bridge should be attached, but I'm not going to worry about that right now because some great stuff is going to happen here, and I'm going to show you. So we will get the batteries on. We will get those IRSs aligning. And we'll quickly go into the FMS and first of all swap the databases. Notice now we have a new engine model. It's not the CM56, it's now the V2527 Alpha 5 engines. I will put the performance factor in here because I know it, because I said it on the flight plan. Most of the time when you sit down in an airplane, the performance factor is already in here. This doesn't change from flight to flight. Almost everything else in the FMC resets from flight to flight, but the performance factor, it doesn't change over time. The performance factor is set on the airplane. It's basically how worn out is the airplane, how much extra fuel, what extra percentage of fuel does it burn over the ideal factory specs that are programmed in the FMS. So it calculates everything per the factory specs and then adds this, I won't say fudge factor, but adds this additional penalty of 1% or whatever you have it set to, just to basically represent the fact, just to basically keep up with the fact that airplanes wear out. As they get older, the things don't fit together quite as nicely. They tend to burn a little bit more fuel. There's more dents in the outside of the airplane. They're dirtier. They just get worn out, so they tend to burn a little bit more fuel as they get older. So that performance factor is, it's usually set by monitoring the flights, and the airline will slowly adjust it over time. But usually once it's adjusted, like, you won't see an adjustment for years. It'll probably be years before it gets adjusted again. So you don't normally have to adjust it, usually just check that it is correct. But every once in a while, I have changed it once on a 320 in the real world, where the performance factor actually increased on the flight we were on. And it's very rare because, like I said, these are kind of set and it's based on the actual performance of the airplane. So just slowly over time they degrade, and slowly this number goes up over time. But you're talking over the course of years and years, it'll go up 1%. All right, the real reason we have to hop down into this FMS is to just initialize our IRS. So let's put in our flight route here, oops, my mouse is a little bit jumpy here, TJSJ to MDPC. Not in database. What did I write? I didn't write the right thing, did I? TJSJ / MDPC. There we go. Obviously, I put something in error there. And today's JetBlue 1513, I want to say. 1531, I was close. 1531. So we'll put the flight number in there, and we'll go to the IRS initialization page. I'll zoom it just a little bit easier so it's a little bit easier to read. And what I will also do is pull up my flight plan. If I can find it here. Nope, that's not it. That's what I'm looking for. Pull up my flight plan here today, and let me just check and see that you guys can see this. No, you can't, but that's what you're looking for, is the screen. All right. Scroll to page 3. Probably don't need this. If I can get rid of this, that's what I'm trying to do. Make it a little bit easier to see here. And so there's our coordinates for TJSJ, 1826.4 north by 6600.1 west. That is correct. Let's align on that reference point. And now the IRSs are all aligning on that reference point. If I pull back up to the main screen, you'll see it's got 4 minutes till we align. So we can't do a whole lot else until it's aligned, but things we can do. Let's start setting up.
Roger.
My FO is missing. That's a little disappointing. There we go. My animated FO is missing. I didn't realize that. And you know what probably happened was when I installed this, of course, it was pretty much a total reinstall to get Block 2 going. I haven't actually touched FS2 Crew. This is the first time I've tried to use FS2 Crew. So it sounds like it still works. We're just missing the animated FO, which is a bit of a disappointment, but that's okay. I'll reinstall FS2 Crew after this stream. So the other thing that is substantially improved, well, not the only other thing, but one of many things that is substantially improved about the version 2 here is the EFB has been substantially improved, and it's also completely available on your tablet, which that's not unusual. So if I can just bring this up here, but just to show you on the tablet, it's kind of reflecting the light in a bad way, but you can see it is it is replicated on the tablet. You can see the icons are there. It's just because of the color, it's actually just perfectly matching my green screen as well. But so you can use the you can use your tablet as your EFB. You can use the EFB directly, but everything's been rewritten to make it faster, which I have noticed it is more responsive. One of the other things that it's done as well, and this is a huge update, and I think it's a huge quality of life thing, is when you load a flight plan. So we've loaded our flight plan here, TJSJ to MDPC, and you go to mass and balance. Remember how we used to click load aircraft, fast, slow, etc.? Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see what it's going to say here. There we go. Notice the first option now, and I don't know how well you could read that on the stream, but it now says GSX. So now there is full GSX integration into the Fenix. You can do it the old-fashioned way and just load it without dealing with GSX. But if you have GSX, the Fenix will now coordinate the loading of the aircraft with GSX. So let's do it. So we click on that, and basically this functions a lot like the old Fenix to GSX software did, except now it's built right into the sim. So now it's going to bring the bridge over automatically, open the doors. It's going to do all the loading automatically. And one thing I try to do now is I try to remember to open this door and see what's going on back there as well. But it'll do the loading automatically. It'll bring the fuel truck over, fuel the fuel to the appropriate amount per the flight plan. So everything that's in the flight plan is now directly working with GSX. And you'll see not just the realistic loading times, but all the equipment will show up. It won't start the fueling until the fuel truck shows up, all that kind of stuff. It's, I gotta say, like, it works really quite well. There was one or two times where it kind of glitched out a little bit on me. And I don't know if that was GSX or Fenix, because sometimes GSX can be glitchy. But for the most part, I found it's worked pretty tight. It's been pretty good. And so, anyway, so that's another improvement. There have been so many quality of life improvements with version 2. It's like a new airplane now. It honestly is. I'm so impressed with everything Fenix did, and so much of it was kind of unexpected. There was a lot of stuff that was expected, but then there's a bunch of stuff that was just kind of came out of the blue, and I'm super happy to see it, because like I was running so much software. I was running Fenix to GSX. I was running remote CDU. Now I don't have to run remote CDU. That's the other thing. If you look at this tablet carefully, your version here that's on your tablet actually has one additional button called MCDU. You click that button and look what you get on your tablet. You have the full MCDU. So you don't need remote CDU anymore, and it's so much better than remote CDU. And no disrespect to the guy who wrote the person who wrote the remote MCDU, because it was a great piece of software that did filled a void that needed to be filled. But the one that what Fenix has done as part of their system overall is better in a bunch of ways, and I'll kind of explain it as we go through here. So I'm just pulling up my phone here to look at the ATIS in San Juan for today. The wind's 180 at this information pop, 180 at 9, 10 miles, broken 3,500, 29 degrees, 3003. So we can set that on the altimeter. 3003, 3003. There we go, and it should, I believe, link the two together. Yeah, it did link the captain and the FO side. Remarks vicinity, showers of vicinity south to west to northwest. ILS visual approaches, runway 10 in use, departing 10. No temps, runway 8's closed. Well, that's easy. Hotel 3 closed, ILS 8 out of service. People and equipment working, adjacent taxi Sierra, expect an escort vehicle. All sorts of stuff here. I don't know if you can hear, but they are loading in the back there. It's a little bit quiet. I turned down just because outside it was getting a little bit noisy. So I'll turn that back up a little bit again. Hopefully the balance is still good. And there we go. Our irises are aligned. You'll also see that we're now refueling. And if we just go take a quick look outside, you can see that, yep, the fuel truck is here. As the fuel truck arrived, they started loading the fuel, which was great. And sorry, I don't know why. Oh, that's why it did. Yeah. So I didn't realize that my finger was, or my mouse is still on the slider somehow. So when I clicked to go outside, it actually just made that go to max. So my apologies for the loud noise there. So everything is aligned. We've got 29 minutes no, 19 minutes till we're supposed to be pushing off the gate. So let's get this show on the road. Nav accuracy upgrade, GPS primary. I'm going to still do what I did before and mostly use it on the screen. You can use this tablet and it's wonderful, and I'll explain why later. But just for the sake of you guys following along, I'm going to continue to do stuff on the screen. And one thing I actually trying to do now a bit more is just use this, because this almost makes it a little bit, if I can center my view there nicely, it almost makes it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. And maybe if I can just do even this. Okay, no, that's terrible. I don't like that actually at all. I'm just trying to move over to one side. There we go, that's good enough. All right, so, yeah, now that we've got ourselves fully aligned, all we got to do is do an ATSU initialization here. So you go to flight init and you go init data request, and it just sends out a request and says, for this airplane, what's the next flight? Show me the details of this flight. Put them in manually, but you might as well let them auto-populate. JetBlue 1531 TJSJ-MDPC, alternates MDST, and the estimated 100 time was only 35 minutes. It's going to be a quick one, guys. It's only like 100-something miles here. Let's see here. So we've done that. The other thing we need to do in here before we get started with the flow is just initialize our secondary. So we just request the secondary flight plan again. It goes through the ACARS system, goes to the company computer, it comes back, and the company computer spits out a flight plan here. TJSJ-MDPC, ALC secondary flight plan uplink. So go to secondary flight plan again and just have a look. So it does go TJSJ down to MDPC, so it does look like this is the correct flight plan, and we'll review it in more depth in a second. But we'll activate that, make it our primary. And then we are just about ready to go. The other thing we need to do as well is just start thinking about some takeoff data. So we'll just start. I found this is just a tiny bit more finicky than it used to be here. So runway 10, it does look like it's going to be a dry runway. I might even put wet, just in case the rain showers do roll over the field. I'm going to do packs on. It's pretty warm. We're not going to need anti-ice. I can sync the load sheet directly from the preliminary numbers that are sent to our ATSU here. Let's see here. Make sure we sync our live weather. And something else that's new on this tablet is now you can specify custom intersections. So you can add an intersection to your database, especially for airports you visit a lot. I'm not going to worry about that today, but you can do it. If you know the distance, if you know the displacement, you can do it. For some reason, it seems to just get a little bit slow and jumpy here. But there we go. We've got some details there. It's just a little bit dark. So I wonder, can I turn this tablet brightness up anymore? Oh, I'm
back. No issues on the walk around.
There we go. That's much better. Now I can read it. Daylight, you're going to need full brightness here. And I can even send it directly to the MCDU, which is fantastic. So I think we might even do that right now. And all that performance data will be auto-populated. We'll recheck it when we get there. All right, so the FO's back. So we are good to go ahead and do the overhead flow. All right, so no lights up top. Just make sure the IRSs are indicating something. They're all on. Everything else should be pretty much black. We get to the recorder, we press it in. And today, it's not going to work. Oh, it does work. Why is it working? It shouldn't work. Or am I thinking of a different MEL? I must be thinking of a different MEL. Oh, no, I'm not. The reason why it doesn't work is because it didn't actually trigger my MEL. So, I had this actually come up. And we had a fantastic MEL that I'm going to actually do it here. So, it's in the flight plan. So you can MEL this, and the other day I think it was the first or second flight I did in version 2, in Block 2, that I sat down, and it says, it's funny, it says LGCUI, it should be LGCIU. Number 2 failed, and this is I haven't dealt with this in real life, but I dealt with this the other day in the sim, and it's fantastic. Everything happens as it's supposed to. So now, because I failed it, we do get the message LGCIU2 fault, and you'll see LGCIU2 Cat2 reverser 2. So this is our MEL for the day. So before I even get any further along here, let's just have a quick look at the MEL book, because this one is, the reason why I wanted to show this one off is because it's frankly just a really interesting MEL here. So this is it, 323101 alpha. Repair interval A, so it's a custom repair interval. It's not a set time. It's actually, it says it right here, 7 flights is all that's allowed. Number installed 2, number required 1. You have to have LGCIU 1. LGCIU 2 can be MEL, but not LGCIU 1. In order for LGCIU 2 to be in op, though, we have to have all ELACs, SECs, SFCCs, RAs, FACs, and ADIRs operative. Both air conditioning packs have to be operative. We cannot use flex takeoff. The operation of avionics equipment is time limited on the ground, and the outside air temperature is below ISA plus 35, and then we have a whole bunch of procedures, and the procedures are where this one gets really interesting. So let's see here, landing gear chapter 32, let's scroll down to the LGCIU2, so past all the braking stuff here, which we'll deal with maybe another day, but here we are, this is it here, I believe. Yeah, landing gear control and interface units. So during cockpit preparation, we actually have to make sure these two circuit breakers are out, especially if it's the first one. Q35 and R32, which, because I'm MELing it here, I didn't do this properly. This should have been like this when I got here. Q35 is LGCIU system 2, and what'd I say, 32, LGCIU battery power supply. Let's just, before we pull a circuit breaker, let's just double check we are pulling the correct circuit breaker. So these will be collared by maintenance. It's 32, R32. So R is
Hi,
top row
the security
32.
and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Is this one? And I did this before. That one doesn't pull. Go for it. Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. So that part of the MEL is followed. And then there's just so much in here, which makes it a really neat MEL. The following table gives the consequences of the systems affected when LGCIU2 is inoperative and the above-mentioned CBs are pulled. And there's a whole bunch of them. So the avionics fence system remains in the closed-circuit configuration. Ground cooling is inoperative. The PTU runs on the ground after first engine start. So basically, the big problem here is that the airplane doesn't know if it's on the ground or in the air. So it relies on a lot of backups to determine the circuit breaker trip. That's fine. I just pulled that circuit breaker. I'll look in a second. ATC2 on the ground, we have to set system 1 because ACC2 will not be inhibited on the ground. The auto position of the strobes doesn't work. Here's the other fun thing too. FADEC supply is continuously on. Automatic start and abort is inoperative. We have to use the manual start procedure for engine 2 on the ground. And the minimum idle is inoperative, so we're also going to have a high idle. We have to use TOGA because flex is not going to be recognized. When you put the flex D10, it's going to go to MCT because it doesn't know it's on the ground. The thrust reverser is inoperative because, again, it doesn't know when it's on the ground. Slots are slow from 1 to 0. Both air conditioning pack or inlets do not close. On the ground, the wing anti-ice valve does not shut automatically after 30 seconds. Like, look at the list of this. Manual control of the cargo doors only, forward and aft. Brakes, cooling, and op. Predictive wind shear system, if installed, is not active. So in case of loss of LGCIU1 during flight, autopilot and flight director will be lost. Max landing capability would be Cat 1. So just a crazy MEL. The other thing that's neat too, look at this, and this just shows you how detailed this Fenix is. Look at the engine instruments here now. Because we pulled that circuit breaker, because the LGCIU2 is not sending air-ground information to engine 2, engine 2's instruments are on constantly. Looks like I made the right call to do wet numbers. I can see it's raining on the windscreen now. Normally, FADEC power is cut off when you're on the ground and the engine's not running until you go into start mode. But because the engine 2 doesn't know if it's on the ground or not, because LGCIU2's failed, the FADEC's on, and all the instruments are giving us readouts. It's not a problem, but we have to be aware of all these differences. So, yeah. Let's do this before I have a chance to forget. It's got to be packs on, but now we have to force TOGA. We have to force TOGA, but we can't do a flex takeoff. So let's send that updated data to the MCDU. Tons and tons of neat stuff. This is a really neat MEL that affects so many systems. It shows you how many things rely on that air-ground signal. So I really found this super neat. I thought this was just absolutely fantastic and it happened just randomly. I didn't trigger it. I just sat down and I was about to take off, and then all of a sudden this triggered as just a random failure, and I had to deal with it. It was fantastic. So circuit breaker tripped L to R. That's the one we pulled. I don't see anything else tripped. So clear CB. Clear CB and status. So in-op systems for the MEL, Cat 2, LGCIU2, reverser 2, remove status. All right. Wow. Okay. The other thing that happens is this doesn't test anymore because it doesn't know that we're not on the. No, it doesn't know that we're on the ground anymore. So the test function stops working. The erase function stops working on the CBR as well. So you can push the button all you want. You'll never hear anything from it. Alright, so that's normal. We're going to say first flight of the day, so he already did the fire test. I'm going to just review it just to make sure, because I didn't watch him do it. And frankly, I always want to make sure that I'm watching to make sure that this is one of those critical tests. Absolutely want to do it every time. You don't want to miss it. You want to make sure. There's a few things in the airplane you really want to make sure every time you go flying are working. Fire alarms, oxygen masks. These are things that'll save your life in a real hurry. Alright, hydraulics, everything's good. Fuel, by now with all that chatting, he's done fueling. 7,500 kilos. I think that sounds about right. I honestly don't recall what was in the flight plan. So let's have a quick look here. Page 1, 7542. Yeah, that is correct. Alright, perfect. And we had nothing in the center tank, I believe. Nothing in the center tank. So, we have nothing in the center tank. It should be off with manual. Right and left tank pumps are on. Batteries. Here's something else they fixed. Now, when they're off, they say off. Before, they just used to say 0 volts, which is not correct. Now they say off. It's all these little things. The IRS align lights. You probably didn't even see that, and I didn't even point it out, but the IRS align lights now come on too. Little things like that, but little things you notice. Alright, so the AP's up and running, so let's go ahead and take the external power off. Let's turn these down so it's nice and cool. Pack 2 can go off for now. And we can't turn that to auto because I almost did it there, because it's going to turn on the strobe because it doesn't know we're on the ground. We are done fueling. All that good stuff. Everything else black. Pull that down. Alright, let's just make sure we've got all this stuff here. I've got my mini FCU, so I'm just going to give it a quick little, there you go, swap that to the hundreds column. That's good. Alright, no flags on anything. 303 is good. Seatbelts, no smoke, park brake, TCAS, come from message, APU bleed. That's all okay. I didn't realize, I guess he turned on the APU bleed. I didn't realize he did it. That was the date for today. Accumulator's good. 22.8, and actually 22.8 is not correct. Something else we got to talk about is the fact that we now have Unicom, custom Unicoms in VATSIM. So, I guess we can do this now. Pull this up and have it ready to go. Charts, show me the tower frequency for San Juan, because that is now going to be the Unicom frequency. Alright, so here's San Juan. Show me the ground chart. Takes a couple seconds for this Navigraph chart to load here, but there it is. The tower frequency is 3205, so one can assume that the Unicom frequency is going to be the same. So 3205. So this is a recent policy change. I'm assuming it applies to Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is part of the United States. That's my assumption anyways. Anyways, continue with it. Weather radars, Cal, it's off. Predictive wind shear's off. I'll just minimize this out of the way for now. Speed brake, levers disarmed. Alright, 50 feet for MDPC sounds right. Status page, nothing unexpected on there. Thrust levers idle. I gotta find a better way to there we go. It's a little better. Alright, so engines are off, it's off, rudder centered, park brake off, gear lever stowed. Let's just slide over here. Guard frequencies up there at number 2. We're on transponder number 1 on the ground. And we got TARA. Just gonna put 2000. And, alright, let's do a quick instrument cross-check. 1 FD2, 1 FD2. Altimeter 3003 inches indicating 0 feet. 3003 inches indicating 0 feet. 3003 inches indicating 0 feet. And heading, let's call it 014, 014, maybe even 013. And, yeah, call about 013, 013. Alright, and now we can hop in the box. If I can get a nice perspective here, like that. There we go. Alright, and where's my flight plan here? Oh, not that page, that page. Alright, so we're going to get started in the box here. And yeah, we're going to fall behind. We're going to be late leaving, unfortunately. Took way too long talking. Alright, I am going to probably revert to my tablet here for this, just so I can keep the flight plan up and you guys can kind of see where I'm putting stuff in here. But if you go to data and aircraft status, we are ready to start here. So A320-200 with the V2527 Alpha 5 engines. The database is current until the 20th of March. It's the 7th of March today. The performance factor is +1. I didn't see anything specific in the NOTAMs we need to detune, so we can go data, position monitor, and selected nav aids, we go deselect. And make sure nothing is deselected. Nothing is deselected. All right, and initialization page, init page A. So starting at the top from San Juan to Punta Cana. The alternate is MDST, which I'm honestly I'm unfamiliar with, but there we go. JBU 1513 flight number. IRSs are already initialized. The cost index here on the flight plan is cost index 18. The cruise flight level today is planned at flight level 200 because it's a pretty short flight, and the average ISA deviation there plus 13, so we're going to call it plus 1 degree. There we go, 1 degree. And a trope here of 57.7, that sounds pretty reasonable. Flight plan page. So leaving TJSJ, departure, we've checked the ATIS, it's runway 10 only. And the SID for today, we don't have one, so it's just direct SJU, so we'll just do runway 10 with no SID. Insert. So it's just runway heading we're going to climb on. And then we do have SJU2. Let's see here. Let's go to the other end actually first. Let's do MDPC arrival planned on runway 09 right now. So we'll plan an RNAV to 09. Antex to Bravo. And no transitions listed, so it must be only the one transition. Alright, total distance on this flight plan of 173, 170. Very close, very good. No step climbs, no lat longs. Let's see if this works today as well. Data, next page, and
hi
pilot
guys,
routes.
here is the load sheet for you.
31. And see if we can store this. It works most of the time, and it did work today. Thank you.
No problem. Have a safe flight.
Alright, bring that back. So now we can just check the route is correct here. So SJU, route 2 to BQN, and then it doesn't have the B520. So I find usually the last transition onto the star is not there, which is not totally correct. So it doesn't work completely. So I'll go back to the flight plan and just go through it really quickly here. But after BQN, it's Antex and then the Antex arrival. So hopefully that is a straight line. We can check our Navigraph charts if we were uncertain. Just looking at it here, it's doesn't have a distance here, but it's not very far anyways. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's 51 miles. So hopefully that's a straight line. We can always check it once we get going here. Not that we have long when we get going. But that's all checked. On the RadNav page, everything is auto-tuned, and that's fine. Secondary page, we're going to recopy the active with all the changes, and then we're going to go secondary flight plan, and tap on the discontinuity and do a immediate return. So TJSJ, new destination, and then if we tap on TJSJ, we can do an arrival, and we can do the ILS to 10. So if something happens on departure, we have an immediate return set up in our secondary. We can activate it very quickly and get going here. So we can hit return, just verify that it does look like it ends at TJSJ runway 10. That looks good. All right, init Bravo page. Taxi point 2, I'm gonna put 0 for the route reserve. Alternate fuel, looks like 2 for the alternate. Final reserve of 1.1. And the ZFW, and if I go to over here to the second one and just check the received messages in the ACARs here, we should probably have a load sheet. Compliance with edition number 1 is the final load sheet. So 58.5, 152 plus 6 babies, 58.5 by 29.8. So 58.5 by 29.8. There we go. And the block fuel, again, 7,500. So 7.5, pretty much by the time we start, I expect that's where it will be. 65.8 for a takeoff weight. And what do we get on our tablet? Aircraft load 65.8. If anything, I like to go up a little bit, at least 200 if not. So 66 tons, just to be 100% certain. probably won't even change it too much, but all right. Back to this. Trying to get used to using these views at Microsoft. All right. The wind component. So if I can find my, what happened to my flight plan? There it is. So the average wind component minus 16. So minus 16. Put that on trip wind, it becomes a 16 on headwind. 1.8 for 35 minutes. I've got 1.7 for 35 minutes, very realistic. 2.6 extra, so we're tankering 1800 plus another 500, that's 23, plus the contingency is 25, so 2.6, that's pretty much a rounding error at this point. So we're tankering the fuel for the return flight. We may not even need to refuel to come back. All right, so that is all good. So we'll zero the wind out again. Go back to the init A page and go wind, init and wind request. And in the real world, it usually takes like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes for this to come back. In the sim, it takes about 10 seconds. Make sure it's blue, blue, and blue. Wind data uplink. All right, so that's all good. Then we can go back to the performance page and take off runway 10. So ideally, you should be cross-checking this with what you've got on the tablet or what you've got on the EFB from your calculations. So let me do it this way here. I've got it on my tablet here, so I'm just going to read it out just to verify that it is all correct. But it is runway 10 with the wet runway. 0 takeoff shift. We've got flaps 3 for today, down 0.1. No flex. It's a toga takeoff. We have speeds 124, 135, 139. Standard transition 18,000. And then the one thing that doesn't get carried forward for some reason is the thrust reduction acceleration and engine out acceleration altitudes at the bottom there. So if I just go and do this, you'll see that it's still 1509, not 1010. So I'm going to adjust this myself. 1010/1010, 1010. And then next phase 212, so the pre-selected speed for the climb is 212. And if you go back and see that there, the clean speed 212. So we pre-selected that for the climb. Prog page, we've got flight level 200 to cruise. The optimal would be 35, but we'll never make it that high on this short flight. So max of 36.3 is kind of irrelevant. I'll put a quick reference here. TJSJ runway 10 is 0.4 miles away. We need to keep our eye on how far we are from this airport. GPS's primary nav accuracy is high, and data position monitor. And at the bottom we have all the IRSs are in nav, 0.3 to 0.4, so it drifts right now. So that's very reasonable. All right. Let me just check here, but we have nothing on. We have nobody controlling us on VATSIM. So the one thing we do have, of course, is our auto ATC. Transponder code of 6740, and that's all we get for our clearance. So let's go ahead and put that in like good, dutiful VATSIM citizen. 6740 custom transponder code is in. All right, quick review. So fuel is boarded, balanced, and recorded. The logbook has been checked. There's no open snags. Service checks and RAM checks are all completed, and the loading, we actually have the final numbers are already in the system, so we're all good on the load. Quick little review here. So what we've got in the box for the departure is just a straight ahead departure. I don't have a SID for today, and I'm just curious. Sometimes ATC might assign a SID even if we didn't file one. I wonder if any of these end up at the SJU, end up back at SJU, but I don't think any of them do. So I think it's just, we're just going to take off, and we're going to just vector ourselves back towards San Juan and on course. So for runway 10, trees beginning, yeah, lots of trees from being in the center of the departure end of the runway. Okay, so quick briefing. Are you ready for the takeoff briefing? Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Go ahead.
And actually reminds me to do this, which is actually good. So let's see here. Weather is good. Radar is not required. Pushback is required. It's config 3 for takeoff. Thrust is normal. Threats, a little bit of weather, some terrain. Takeoff runways 10. Speeds, I'm just going to check here on my tablet. 124, 135, and 139. This way he makes all the calls at the right speeds. Maybe this might even improve in the future. Flex, no flex. And cruise altitude of 20,000 feet. Thrust reduction. Takeoff CG percentage, yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, good, so he's all set up for the takeoff. All right, so it's going to be a, there's no SID, it's going to be a runway heading departure, so let's actually just pull up runway heading and pre-select that really quickly here. Departure time passed 6 minutes ago. I know. We're getting there. Unfortunately, the flight crew just wasn't ready. It's just the way it is sometimes. We're trying. So let's pre-select 101 on the heading here. Alright, so there's 101 for the heading, and we don't have ATC to assign us an altitude. I'm just going to use 5,000 as the top altitude. It's a reasonable compromise. It'll take us a minute or so to climb there. So 5,000 feet is set, roger 5,000. Noise abatement, I didn't see anything published for San Juan. We're going to do standard noise to departure, and I believe it's not a mountainous airport. There is mountainous terrain to the south, but there's an ocean to the north. If anything happens, we just turn north. That'll keep us away from the mountains. Level of service is not an issue under the FAA, and engine out procedure, we'll just make a left turn again out over the ocean, climb to at least 2,000 feet before we level off. Yeah, performance in the box here today for a left seat departure off of runway 10 in San Juan. It's no takeoff shift, flaps 3. Toga takeoff, no flex, V1 124, VR 135, V2 139, standard transition 18,000, and 1010 across the bottom for the noise to departure 212. The green dot speed is carried forward, pre-selected for the climb. It'll be a selected departure, so we do have climb blue, but we'll have to pull heading at 400 feet AGL and get ourselves established on course. Let's see here.
Hey guys, all packs are on board. Are we clear to close?
Yes.
Thanks. Let me know if you need anything.
All right. We'll be just 1 more minute. We'll get going here. So we'll get the autopilot on probably around 1,000 feet, just because it is busy. Lots of stuff going on, and we got to turn ourselves on course here. So I got to do that myself. And overweight, we are just very slightly overweight right now. By the time we've taken off, with the fuel we'll burn in the takeoff, we'll be underweight for the immediate return. We can double check the numbers, but we should be underweight. And I think that's about it. Yeah, radnav, nothing special to tune. And threats, just trying to rush through this, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to ever rush. So I'll try and slow myself down a little bit here, but I think we've covered off everything. I don't think we've missed anything. So yeah, so we're ready to trigger the pushback, and the way we trigger the pushback with GSX in the Fenix is we have to turn the beacon on. So turn the beacon on with the park and brake set. This should trigger GSX, and here it comes. Now it's getting ready to push us back here. So while we're waiting for that, let's do any questions?
No questions.
Before start checklist.
Parking brake.
Set.
Takeoff speeds and thrust.
V1 124, VR 135, V2 139. Toga. Toga.
V1 124, VR 135, V2 139. Windows.
Closed.
Beacon.
On.
Before start checklist completed.
Yeah, sorry, ran for the flight deck. You're going to say again, we kind of missed that. All right. One thing I almost forgot here. Oh, and I almost forgot it here. I haven't done this for a little while. FSU IPC. Where's my FSU IPC? There it is. Gotta make sure that's running, or nothing will track. So now that that's running, let's have a quick look here. Server connection okay, flight sim okay, stage pre-flight. Okay, it knows what we're doing, why we're doing it. Perfect, love it. The other thing I'm going to do is really quickly just have a quick look on my other computer at VATSIM and see what's going on around this airport. We do have the correct Unicom frequency up. Push back tail to the right. And one thing I've got to do as well is just make sure I put the output of VATSIM onto the correct channel so you guys can hear it. Because this one I kind of play with and kind of move it around. Alright, that should do it. Alright. First flight of the day, gotta do a yellow brake check. There it is. Brakes are off, ready for pushback, delaying and start till advised. Alright, we're on our way with season 13, leg 1 here. We're 11 minutes behind schedule. It's not terrible. Starting engine 2.
Okay.
So starting engine 2 on the IAE engines. That's a little bit different than the CFMs. The indications are just a little bit different. So you'll notice that the N1 does not come up, the N2 doesn't come up until they actually start turning in a recognizable manner. And as soon as it actually has a readable value, then it actually kicks away the X's. You'll also notice the pressure is a lot higher. You'll also notice it goes right to 25%. The ignition comes on at 25%, and the fuel flow kicks in at 25%. Both of them kick in at 25% and not before. So it's a little bit different than the CFMs. Now you see the temperatures coming up. We've already reached 35% here on the N2. Temperatures coming up, and what you'll notice as well as it comes up here is that the limit's a lot closer. Just kind of watching the pushback here, but the limit's a lot closer here on the EGT. So we're just reaching the end of the start cycle. The valve actually closes even a little bit earlier on this version, but the EGT keeps on rising throughout the start here, right till we pass 60%, and even when the starter goes off here and becomes available, it still rises. It's a pretty warm day out here, and it's pretty close. Oh, shoot, and what did I do? I did an automatic start, and I was not supposed to on engine 2. Too much stuff going on. Okay. Take it down a notch. We're supposed to do the manual start, which is also a really neat, it just adds a little bit of interest, but I forgot that part. My apologies to everybody. Unfortunately, we watched the start, so we were okay with it. Starting engine 1.
Okay.
Brakes are set, confirm the pins are moved. Pins. Meanwhile, we'll watch the start carefully here. Shoot. I apologize. And that trying to do too many things at once. And that's part of this problem with this business. And it happens. People, sometimes when there's so much going on and you're trying to get through stuff, things get missed, especially MELs, things that are unusual. All right, so there's the 25%. It kind of hesitates 25%, puts the ignition on. And the other thing I've noticed too about this airplane is that it seems to alternate the ignitions now. So notice that engine 1 is starting on B this time. Engine 2, I think, started on A. And I think next time it's going to alternate. I can't say this. I haven't watched that carefully to be sure. But it definitely, I think now it alternates. Before it was always engine 1 started on A and engine 2 started on B, and that was it. And that's not really correct. It alternates so that the igniters kind of wear at the same rate. One start will be engine ignition A, the next start will be engine ignition B. And it just alternates back and forth. So, she's still getting warm. She's probably, she got close to the limit there, 550. I don't know what the limit is, but it's pretty low on the IAE engines. It's like 625 or 650 or something like that. All right. Other thing you'll notice about the IAE engines here, besides the fact that, of course, now we have an EBR setting instead of N1 at the top. N1's down here next, and N2's right there. You'll also notice that the oil pressure runs a lot higher. In the CFMs, it's like at ground idle with the oil starting to warm up, you get like 30 psi-ish. Here in this one, you're at 200 plus psi. I thought that was an error, but it seems like that's the normal thing in the IAEs. I don't know the IAE engine, so I'm just kind of going with what I've seen, but to the best of my knowledge, it's a higher oil pressure. All right. Engines 2 and 1 are normal. After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Off.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
Point 1 down. Set and checked.
Rudder trim.
Neutral.
After start checklist completed.
Clear left side.
Clear right side.
I've also noticed with the new version is that the airplane tends to move a lot more at idle thrust than ever used to. Before, you always used to have to add thrust, and it seems like it's a little bit more realistic. Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Flight control check.
Ready. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Another thing that's great about this now is the pedal disconnect works. So I can press that. Watch this. I can press the rudder pedals.
Full left.
The airplane doesn't go anywhere, and I can actually even use my tiller
Full right.
axis at the same time as I'm pressing
Neutral.
on the pedals. So many fantastic little quality of life improvements, little things that really kind of make this. Notice how fast this airplane's taken off, because we have the high idle on the right side, because the VATAC doesn't know that engine 2 is on the ground. It keeps it at high idle, which is quite a bit higher here. You'll notice that the N2 is sitting at 65% instead of 61%, so she really wants to take off today. Taxi checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flap setting.
Config 3. Config 3.
Config 3. Radar and predictive wind shear system.
Flight deck.
The cabin is now secure for takeoff.
Thank you. Another neat little innovation that they added was the cabin crew calls you now. I just stopped taxiing for a second. The cabin crew calls you. You actually hear the tone. You actually hear it, see the light flashing, and you have to press the button to acknowledge them, to talk to them, and acknowledge the fact you've heard them, which is just fantastic. So many things. All right, let's see here. This is, yeah. On and auto.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff, no blue. Takeoff, no blue.
Taxi checklist completed.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen,
Very nice.
welcome on board our flight today.
San Juan
This is
traffic,
the lead flight
JetBlue
attendant
1531 is
Please
about to take
direct
position,
your
runway
attention to the cabin
104,
crew for
departure
important
left turn out
safety
to
information.
Punta Cana.
There is an instruction card in your seat pocket that illustrates the
All
safety
right.
equipment on this aircraft.
A little bit behind schedule, but hopefully we can make up some of this time in the air here with the extra gas we got on board.
Lighted information signs and posted.
Cleared for departure.
Fasten your seatbelt by
Takeoff
inserting
runway
the metal
confirmed.
tip into
Approach
the
path
buckle.
clear of traffic.
Tighten by
Cabin crew
pulling
be
on the
seated for
belt to
takeoff.
release your seatbelt. Lift a metal flap on the buckle. It is our policy that you keep your seatbelt
Okay, I'm not even
fastened at all
adding any
times
thrust
while
because
seated.
it just wants to kind of
Doors
take
are
off on its own.
clearly
And I'm sorry if
marked
you
with
guys are getting kind of a
exit
bad
signs and instructions
frame
for
rate
door
here. I'm just
operation.
looking over at my
Each door is
OBS
equipped with an
streaming
escape
software
slide.
here, and it looks a lot
Locate
worse
the
than
exit nearest
what I'm
you.
seeing actually on the screen.
The
So I
nearest
apologize if
exit
you guys are
may
kind of
be
seeing a
behind
bad
you.
frame rate, but hopefully you're getting
In
the
an
general impression of what we're doing. But I just,
lights will illuminate the
I'm
dial.
absolutely floored with the
The
improvements of the
cabin
Phoenix.
is
I thought the
pressurized.
Phoenix was a great airplane before, and
If
like I
there
said,
is a
they have
loss
fixed
of cabin
almost
pressure,
every
a panel
glitch that
will
I
open
had
and
with it.
oxygen masks will
Almost
appear.
every glitch.
Remain
That
seated with your
store
seatbelt
routes thing
fastened
doesn't
and
quite
pull a
work
mask
totally all the
towards you
time
to
right
start
now.
the flow of oxygen.
Even maneuvering it on the ground,
Oxygen
I find
will
you
be
can
flowing
turn
to
it
the
sharper
mask
now
even
than you
though
could
the bag
before.
may
And
not
maybe this
inflate.
has to do with the sim, but
Cover your nose
look at how
and
nicely
mouth
we
with
can
the
line
mask.
ourselves up on this runway here.
Place the elastic band around
Lineup
your head and
checklist.
tighten by pulling on the ends.
Lineup checklist.
Secure your own mask before assisting others.
Takeoff
Your
runway.
seat bottom cushion
10
may be used
confirmed.
as a flotation device.
Runway 10
Pull up and
confirmed.
remove the cushion.
TCAS.
Upon exiting the aircraft, place
TARA.
your arms around the cushion and
Packs
hold
1
on to
and
the
2.
straps located
On.
on the back.
Lineup
This
checklist
is a
completed.
non-smoking flight.
Turn on the
Smoking is not
APU.
permitted in the cabin or laboratories. Cabin lights will now be turned off. Reading light buttons are located above your seat. Thank you for your attention.
Takeoff.
Check. Thrust set 100 knots.
Roger.
V1. Rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Full heading. Autopilot 1. Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
thrust climb, auto thrust. Alright, 20,000 feet set. Flap 0.
Speed checked. Flap 0.
Not the best takeoff I ever did, but not terrible. Hey, I find sometimes I'm just a little bit too far away. And it's funny because I'm probably going to get myself a bigger screen too. There's 3,000 feet. So I'm going to give us a left turn north, away from the mountains off to the south there. Alright, here's heading 360. And what I'm actually going to do is probably give us direct back to, Baca. San Juan. Yeah, alright, I'll do direct San Juan. We'll just go direct over at San Juan. Alright, so there's nav. There's climb, all blue. Temperature's still good, yep. Alright, and we're underway. ECAM actions. Alright, CV tripped, rear panel end to ours. Let's just have a quick look. And we do have the one CV to the LGCIU2. I don't see any other circuit breakers out. Alright, clear CB, and status, stop ECAM. Have we done everything after takeoff? Let's just double check. That's all good. Gear is up, flaps are up. Yeah, alright, continue ECAM. Status, we still have the same as before. Engine to approach idle only, center tank fuel unusable, center tank pumps, LGCIU 2, and reverser 2. Those are all in up. Remove status. ECAM actions complete. Alright, no impact on the operation because that did not really change anything. That was just simply re-alerting us to the fact that that circuit breaker back there is pulled. Alright, so we're kind of heading in the correct direction now. Speed's managed. And are we doing still temperature-wise? Temperature's still plus 19 tots. We don't need the anti-ice for this. It's going to be a short flight, so we're going to already start setting up for the arrival shortly here. But let's just take a moment, sip our coffee, enjoy ourselves. We're going to wait for at least 10,000 feet because that's the appropriate thing to do. Let's just have a quick look on my VATSIM here. Sorry, let me just pause that before I turn my head. We are like the only people in this part of the world right now, but we should probably make it radio call. And San Juan traffic, JetBlue 1531 is airborne. Back overhead the field, westbound at 9,000 feet to Punta Cana, final call San Juan. Alright, so I don't think we're going to deal with any more San Juan traffic, so we'll go to standard Unicom 20, honor Unicom 22.8. And let's just have a quick little look-see here. We'll zoom out the map. So there's our top climb. And I don't even have a top of descent. Actually, we're doing pretty good here. The climb is actually working out because we're only going to 20,000 too. I think that's also helping us. So there's, yeah, we have some time. Alright, there's 10,000 climbing flight level 200. And is this as fast as it's going to go, really? It's managed at 250, huh? Oh, there it is. Now it triggered. Just for some reason, it's just slightly delayed there, triggering up. So now we're going to, looks like about 290. Very reasonable speed. Alright, we're above the clouds, so we can go ahead and turn the belts off as well. Above 10,000 feet, we're going to get airport mode. Hopefully this guy did all the work already, but RadNav, make sure nothing is, anything was manually tuned is detuned. We'll recopy the secondary, recheck the prog, although today it's not much of an issue because it's such a short, low flight. 384, there we go. That's our max, and we're not going up to 384, that's for sure. We almost have time here, though. That's kind of the nice thing today, too, is that although it's a short flight, because it's only, let's see here, and I had, what did I say, 180 miles, 160 miles still to go. It's because we're only going to 20,000, we have time. I've seen where we've tried to do 200-mile flights and go to 33,000 feet. It's like, oh my God, like you're gonna be in, you're just gonna be right over the top and right back down again the other side. There's gonna be no time in cruise. You're not gonna be having any time to do anything. You're gonna prep for the arrival before you even take off. This one's just a little bit longer. All right, while we're waiting to reach 20,000, just a few other things. So I was mentioning the tablet, and this is one of the things that I just absolutely love. So first of all, it's very easy to swap. So I've got the MCDU up here. It's easy to swap. There's just a little button in the bottom corner here that you tap, and it takes you right back to your home screen again. And the other thing that's nice too, for those of you guys that didn't know this, but you can customize the wallpaper. So this background wallpaper, that's a screenshot I took. It's custom wallpaper, so it's the same wallpaper you have on your EFB in the airplane is on your EFB in the real world on the tablet. All sorts of great stuff here. You'll notice also they've added failures here, so you can also trigger a failure. You can't do random failures up here, but you can manually trigger your failures through the tablet, which sometimes is a little bit easier to navigate than the FMS, than the MCDU. But the MCDU, you can still navigate all your tablets that way. But one of the most brilliant things about this whole thing, and I've said it before, so if you're using the MCDU, first of all, it defaults to a very useful size without any kind of menu bar at the top. So one thing that remote CDU was a bit of an issue, and I hate to criticize because they did the best they could, but the remote CDU was a bit awkward because there was there's a little menu bar at the top that kind of made the space a little bit smaller. You could zoom in and make it a little bit more realistic size, but then of course, the trouble with that is that if you don't tap carefully and you tap and your finger moves very slightly as you're tapping, instead of tapping, you just simply move the whole object around the screen, which can be very frustrating to kind of deal with. So yeah, this I find the size on this is much more locked in than in previous versions. The other thing that's really nice about this, and it really is such a simple thing, but it's so wonderful, is that when you tap a key, you can hear it. So I don't know how well you can hear that through the mic, but every time you press a key, you get that little click, and it's a simple little gimmicky thing, but to me it's so important because it tells me that the key press registered. I found so often with remote CDU, for all of its good things, I would press a key and I wasn't always sure it worked, and especially if you had to double press a key. So you're typing in like Toronto CYYZ, so you had to type Y twice in a row, and there's transition. If I can get this thing to do its thing here, there we go. Full standard.
Standard cross-checked, passing flight level 187.
Thank you. Yeah, oftentimes it wouldn't register the second key press if you did it too quickly because it thought maybe it was an error. So there was so many. It was great as a sort of a stopgap measure, but it did have its shortcomings, and it's amazing how simple that little thing 190 climbing 200. That one little thing of having a little auditory feedback when you tap a button to know that hey, that button worked, it registered that key press. It really is fantastic. It's a real thing. It's a physical key. You have to push it down. You know that you've made contact with it. You know that it worked. With a tablet, you don't get that kind of feedback, and that's one of the biggest problems with touchscreen speed Alt-Stars. You don't get that haptic feedback that you know that you press something.
And also for your own safety. Thank you.
Kevin, almost there. So the tablet alone is worth the price of admission. There's Mach and Alt-Star. Everything about this is just so nicely improved. Alt cruise, perfect. All right, so quick little cruise check here. Let's just flow through the whole flight deck, make sure that every switch is in the right position. Nothing has changed. Boom, 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 boom. Do, 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 do. Everything is where it's supposed to be, and then we'll set up its arrival because we're going to be there really darn quick. It's a really short flight, and I might even dial the speed up once we set everything up. Alright, just flowing through and looking at all the switches, making sure everything's where it needs to be. Now, wants destination data. See, even in cruise, 260 PSI, 260 PSI. Something else I've noticed too is that the engines do tend to be a little bit more independent now, whereas before it seemed like they were two mirror copies of each other. That's never the way it is in a real airplane. They've always had different lifespans. They've ran for different amounts of hours, had different things happen to them. Sometimes they're pulled off the wings at different times for different overhauls and whatnot. So very seldom are the two engines on an airplane identical, and they're never identical. They're usually similar, but sometimes they're not even very similar. Sometimes one will accelerate well, the other one will not. the LGCIU2, so you can see there's no feedback with the number 1 position at all. Or wait, yeah. Because we have LGCIU2 offline. Alright, and just a quick fuel check and make sure we are still adding up here. 1100, we started with 75, that adds up. Alright, so let's quickly recheck what's going on in Punta Cana because we've got to start setting up for arrival already. So on my V-pilot here, MDPC, winds are out of the east, 110 at 8, so 09 is very reasonable for arrival. Basically unlimited visibility through at 2,029 degrees Q1016. So let's just do this really quickly and pull that back to standard. Alright, yeah, so we're going to plan to arrive runway 10 in MDPC here. Star RNAV arrivals, runway 09. Let's do that. And let's do RNAV to 09. And actually, I'm just going to do one quick little thing here and just check, because I think I know the answer, but I just want to see if there is any kind of ATIS from Punta Cana, and no, it's not appearing. Okay. So we're going to do the arrival here via Antec. So, status of the aircraft, we obviously have reverser 2 in op. We're going to have to do some landing numbers actually without that. Let's do that first. So let's go back up here to the tablet quickly. Come on. Let's see here, runway 09, we'll call it a dry runway. It doesn't look like it's raining there. Get the landing data. Landing weight, and so for this you always need to go to your fuel prediction page. 58.5 plus 5.7, so we'll round that up to 6. So 58, 59, 60, 64.5. So I believe is max landing weight. So that's rounded up very slightly, but 64.5. I find that even this keyboard is nicer to interact with than the previous keyboard. Low auto brake is fine. We've got no reverse today because we've got number 2 in op. We can try to use number 1, but we won't use won't get into number 2. Manual landing, flap full, auto thrust on, 7116 feet on 10,000 feet. Factor landed 8100. That's fine. We've got some margin even without the thrust first. So we will go with low. Yeah, so engine to approach idle only, center tank fuel unusable, center tank pumps, LGCIU2, reverser 2. So it will be a little bit harder to decelerate because the engine 2 is going to be idling a little higher. Alright, yeah, so let's hop down into the box here, actually, and I think we got everything set up. So let's do, let's see here, I'm going to put this into plan mode here for a second, and I'm actually just going to see if the star and the approach are linked. So PC112, DAVSO, and then PC250. So, one thing I need to do probably is link this together via DAVSO. So we can approach via DAVSO. Insert that, and then that should link everything together nicely. So PC102, 102, 101, 112, DAVSO, and that should be about 3,000. Alright, so, yeah. So what we'll do is we'll put constraints on here. We'll go into plan mode. Zoom this in a fair bit here. And I'm going to use my tablet to cycle through the waypoints here and follow along. So the Antex 2 Bravo arrival starts at Antex. Max 230 knots above 8,000. Oh, one thing I didn't do actually was I didn't put it back in constraints mode so you can actually verify all the constraints are as published. Alright, so Antex. Above 8,000, 230 knots, that's correct. Then it's PC102, max 230 knots above 8,000 as well. Yep. 101, above 8,000, max 210 knots, okay. PC112, max 210 knots above 7,000 feet. And then DAVSO is above 3,000 feet, max 210 knots. I don't actually have that restriction in there, but I can put it in there, so I'm actually putting it in there manually because of the constraint. So 3,000 and above. So now if I go back along here again, so now you see 3,000 feet and above, max 210 knots. And that's where we transition to the RNAV to runway 09 is the plan here in Punta Cana. Let's see here. So 097 is the final approach course. And it does go from DAVSO PC250 above 3,000 Liban above 2,000. So that's all in there. I see the 097 bearing. It's only hard-coded for the descent after Liban. 3-degree descent's hard-coded after Liban. The missed approach, 097 to PC-255. I see that. Then a turn right direct in Moody and hold at 3,000, or in accordance with ATC instructions. So that's all there. Yep, RadNav page, nothing there. Prague predictive GPS says yes across the board. And so what I'll do is I will, so you guys can see what I'm doing here, but if I go predictive GPS, you can see it's got all Y's across the board, so there will be sufficient GPS coverage. Performance, the descent, 0.60277, that's pretty reasonable. We can increase that if we want to here a little bit. Actually, I might just to try and get, I might increase it to 300 knots. Managed in the descent, let's call it 0.74, 300 knots. Oh my god, 0.74/300. Usually you should be able to change both of them that way, one at a time either way. Okay, 0.74, 300, just to kind of make up a little bit of time since we're a little bit behind. QNH. So I believe we said 1016. Where's my pilot window here? 1016. Temperature of 29 degrees, and the winds of the field 110 at 8. 110 at 8. There we go. Transition level 17,000, that matches, and the barrel minimums on this approach 500 feet. Fig full for the missed approach is 3,000, so we're going to accelerate at 3,000 feet. Fuel prediction, we've got 2.6 tons, so an hour 18 extra. Basically, we're tankering the fuel for the return leg. And secondary, I'll recopy the active now, so it's restored and it's all ready to go. All right. Quick back into where are we here? Coming up on our top of descent pretty quickly here. And the other thing is, of course, 16:17, and the time now is 58. So flight attendants, 20 minutes to landing. All right. You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
All right. Good. We'll say runway's wet. EPF to landing. Approach is non-precision. Auto land. No. Final sector. No. LS required. No. Minimum descent altitude is 500 feet MSL. Transition airport altitude is... airport elevation is 47 feet. Alright, so today we're doing the Antex 2 Bravo arrival for runway 9 and Dominican Republic's Punta Cana 10-2 Alpha. The routing constraints are all as published and checked on the arrival. We're going to transition at DAV, so direct into the RNAV runway 09. 12-2, it's an RNAV approach, no frequencies. The final approach course 097 is hard-coded in the box. 2000 at Liban, 500-foot MDA. Missed approach is as published, or is otherwise advised by ATC. Top altitude on that is 3,000. The MSA is also 3,000 all around the reference point for the airport Punta Cana. Let's see here. So 3-degree slope is hard-coded after Liban, so once we're inbound to Liban, we can arm approach mode for the final app approach. PAPI's on the left, MALS lighting system, and a visibility of 1.2 kilometers. Its visibility is unlimited at this point. Landing on runway 09 in Punta Cana, we're going to take a feed and right turn off the runway. I expect we're going to make Alpha. If we make Alpha, we got to roll, we got to do a backtrack, possibly roll to the end and do a backtrack from the turnaround bay. Although this thing, we should be able to turn around on this runway, 148 foot, but it should be fine. I'm going to just set a lower altitude now of 10,000 because I see us coming up to our top of descent point pretty quickly here. And there's speed descent all blue. Backtrack to the terminal. We'll get a gate in a second. And yeah, we'll aim to touch down in the optimal touchdown zone from the aiming marks to the 500-foot marks thereafter. And touchdown point limit is the end of the painted touchdown zone at 3,000 feet. Let me think. It's going to be a managed approach to a manual landing. It's going to be a final app approach, so once we're inbound to Liban and in descent to the 2,000 feet, we can arm approach mode. We don't turn on the second autopilot. Anti-ice is not going to be on. We've got auto brake low. full, we'll have reverse, we'll do idle reverse initially, we'll put moderate reverse on there, make sure the directional control is holding. If it's a dry runway, it shouldn't be much of an issue. We move both thrust reversers back, even though reverse 2 is an op, we just move them both back as if they're both operative, and it's config full for landing. That kind of covers off the MEL, I think, for the most part, the reversers in op for landing, and let me just review the MEL, make sure that there's nothing else in here that I think impacts the arrival. We'll do the manual start in the next one, so my apologies to everyone for forgetting that, because I feel like an idiot now. I talked about it and then I didn't do it. Yeah, just make sure the strobe's off when we leave the runway, that's about it. High idle on the taxi in, so we're going to probably have to ride the brakes a little bit, but maybe do a single engine taxi and shut down the engine just to save some wear and tear on the brakes, some heat on the brakes. We don't have brake fans on this fin, and she's trying to slow down here for the 230 knot restriction there. She's getting there. I might need to help it out just a little bit because I don't think she's moving the speed fast enough. Alright, threats for this, it's an uncontrolled airport. Actually, I just need to find out the Unicom frequency here, so I'm going to bring in the chart for a second again here. What's the tower frequency here? 118.8, so that would be the CTAF frequency. Oh no, but it's not, we're not in the United States, so we don't need the CTAF frequency, so just standard Unicom. Okay, yeah, I think it's going to slow down to 230 now. That seems to be the biggest threat. Other than that, I don't see anybody else on VATSIM unless there's somebody else showing up. No, I think we're the only people around here right now. There is another JetBlue actually inbound, but he's a little farther out than we are, so it shouldn't be an issue. We will communicate on Unicom, and the MEL is taken care of. I think that's basically it for the threats. Yeah. Any questions?
No questions.
I have control.
You have control.
Alright, I think we got everything covered off. Whew. That's a lot of talking, there's a lot of work to do very quickly, but I think we're just about ready here. Alright, so we're just passing over Antex, we're above 8,000, 230 knots max speed. We're going a little faster. Let's see here, our scheduled arrival time is 16:25. We're touching down at 16:17. We may well arrive on time. It's a short flight. We didn't have a whole lot of taxi time, so this may work out. We may arrive on time. And of course we got to get the next leg ready to go. So there's 1016 inches.
1016 set, passing 16,500.
All right. The other thing I'm going to do really quickly now, I shouldn't distract myself too much, but my dispatcher would be doing this, is I'm going to actually go to my sim brief window over here and start planning the return flight. And I don't even have a flight number. I'm going to have to go to my pilot's life here to find the flight number for the return flight here. It's going to be JetBlue 1632. 1632 it is. This is neat now too. This is new. So when you set up a schedule, you can actually now see a map of your schedule. So here's our schedule for season 13. We're doing this kind of back and forth here. After San Juan, we're going up to Newark, down to Tampa, back up to JFK, back to San Juan, then over to Orlando, up to DCA, which is always fun. I can't wait to do DCA in the 320, and then back down to, I believe this is Miami, no, Fort Lauderdale, and then over to New Orleans. So kind of a neat little roundabout route. The first little bit's kind of a little bit repetitive here with a bunch of New York airports in there, but then after that we're going to get a little bit more fun. So it took me a little while to kind of find a route that I liked, and I like this that we're starting off with 2 short legs. We can do 2 flights back to back. I also like we're going to DCA. DCA is an awesome airport to go visit. Visual approaches, the River Visual or the Mount Vernon Visual, both of them are fantastic approaches. I really enjoy going to DCA, so I can't wait to do the DCA legs with you guys later and show off how well this airplane can do those legs. Let's see here, I'm just trying to look at something here, make sure that I can see something there. Okay, yeah. Just trying to think, but I think that's everything. Yeah. Wow. I just feel like I haven't stopped talking now, and there's so much to talk about. And this is part of my what I'm really absolutely just disappointed about right now. It's just like, I love these short flights. I love the fact that we're doing 2 short flights back to back and getting them going here really quickly. But I'm so disappointed that I don't get to talk more about all the stuff that's just so great here in this airplane. And I just thought we really need to kind of go with this whole like completely different looking livery, just because it's a really nice looking livery, but it's a really good looking airplane. Just so many great things about this here. This a little bit here. The sunny side a little more. So many things I'm noticing about this airplane though. You can even see it's got the satellite Wi-Fi on the top there. Really, really, really good looking airplane. It's so many neat things that Fenix announced. So I think even since I did my last stream, Fenix came out with a video and they announced a whole bunch of features. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set 7,000 for now. And let's make a traffic call again. Punta Cana traffic. This is JetBlue 1531. We're about 10 miles northeast of the field, descending through 12,000 on a hill, setting up for a left downwind for the RNAV, runway 09, Punta Cana. So many neat things. I notice more about this airplane all the time. So like there was the great video that Amir did that just talked about some of the new features. Compressor stalls are a big deal now, and if you do enough compressor stalls in a row, eventually the engine will fail. You'll damage the engine to the point where it may not function. Fan blade icing is a big thing now too. Fan blade icing. Why are we so far above the path? We need more drag here. All right, we're gonna get more drag speed. Fan blade icing. You got to worry about if you're in icing conditions on the ground while you're taxiing out. You got to make sure you do an ice shedding procedure where you run the engines up. There's the airport right over there. Fantastic. Just got to circle around and land at it. Yeah, so many great things like that. What else? You know, the manual start and the hot and hung starts, things like that are also a feature now. All right, so she's kind of going a little bit. She's kind of picking up a little bit of speed here. We should be doing 210 knots, really. 210 knots. There it is. So 210 selected. I got the speed brakes out full because for some reason, we're above the path. Although we're catching the path now, but then we're going way faster than we should be. Be prioritizing that selected speed. So let's even do this and go VS minus 1500 just so you can get this back towards the 210 knot target speed. And there's 9,000 descending 7,000. I'm going to go ahead and set 3,000 for the approach waypoint here. 3,000 feet set. And approach checklist.
Barrow ref.
1016 set.
1016 set. Seatbelts.
On.
Minimum.
500 feet set.
Auto brake.
Low. Low armed.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist completed.
Almost on path. We're still going faster than we should be. We're just about ready to do this.
Checked.
Flap 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
Alright. No change in status. Remove status. Remove status. I don't know how it ended up being so high here. I really don't. Flight deck.
Hi, Captain. The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. I love that. Simple things that I really love because they just make it so much, they just improve the immersion that much more. Alright, we are quite high here, so I don't know how we ended up being quite so high here on this approach. I'm still talking, and that's probably part of the problem is I'm not focusing here. I'm trying to get the speed back this last little bit here so I can get the next step of the flaps out. Let's do it. Let's do this. Been catching up to the path, actually, though. Not bad. Flaps 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
Descent, all blue. Not even looking out the window because I'm too busy trying to manage this descent. For some reason, this descent planning got botched. I found it's been very good so far. This is the first time I've really found the descent planning is botched somehow. I'm not sure why. We are so high above the path here. Just catching up to it now. Like, it was all programmed in, it was all coded, so I don't understand why it's so... why it's kind of so far out of the parameters it should be at. Alright, I'm going to get the speed back to 180 here. And of course, go figure. The only trouble with using a tablet is that your tablet eventually the screen turns off and then you got to unlock it again. Alright, now we seem to be on path. We're actually not doing too badly here now that we have flaps 2 out. Once we pass PC 250, we got to go down to 2,000 feet and we can arm the approach. We are pretty much on the path, so it should work out the transition very nicely. Punta Cana traffic, JetBlue 1531 is about to turn 10-mile final, runway 9er. Alright, so here comes the turn to final. Once we've got LIBAN as the inbound fix, we can arm the approach mode. That's 3,600 descending 3,000. Alright, there's LIBAN. So we're inbound now to LIBAN, we're in descent to 3,000. Final at speed, and therefore missed approach altitude of 3,000 feet is set. Roger. Let's get the speed back to 170. A little bit of low cloud hanging out here, but temperature's very warm, no need for the anti-ice today. And get ourselves ready for this landing. That was a quick little flight over, wasn't it? Especially when I wanted to do a lot of talking. There's been a lot of stuff that happened in the last month. This is not the ideal. Was to do a short leg where I had no time to talk about all the great stuff that happened.
2,500.
Radio altimeter alive.
Show off some of this Fenix stuff, but anyways, maybe we'll have a little bit more time on the way back. Seems unlikely. I didn't even plan the flight plan yet, but that's okay. We're going to be here probably just about right on time, so probably be pretty good for our 1700 Zulu departure. It's only 16:13 now. All right. Gear down.
Gear down. Cabin crew be seated for landing.
LIBAN. 2,000, Mr. Approach altitude 3,000 feet set. Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Flaps full.
Speed checked. Flaps full.
Alright, I gotta find a good comfortable position to actually land this thing. Landing checklist.
ECAM memo.
Landing, no blue.
Landing checklist completed.
Pardon me, sorry guys. Good luck. Firebird 911. Thank you.
1,000.
What do we got? We got a little bit of wind on the nose here, a little bit. Not too bad.
1,000.
Kind of looking forward to maybe getting a bigger monitor soon because now I've got suddenly a vertical line the last week or so. I've got a vertical line on my monitor. It's so distracting because it's almost right in the center. And I think I'm going to have to replace it. So I kind of want to get a bigger monitor anyway so I can see these screens a little bit better without having to lean in just to see them. Just to see that how I'm doing on target here. Give her a little bit of thrust there, hey? Does feel like we're getting awfully close to these trees on final here.
500.
100 above.
100 above.
Roger.
Minimum.
Minimums.
Autopilot's off. Continue.
Checked.
Flight director's off.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20, retard.
Spoilers, reverse green, decel.
Manual brakes.
70 knots.
Yeah, not to toot my own horn, but that did turn out pretty nice. That was one of the nicest landings I've done in a while, in all honesty. Sometimes it just works out. Some days it doesn't. And I thought we'd missed the last taxiway. I thought we were about to backtrack. I didn't realize we had the last taxiway, but we did make the last taxiway, which is fantastic. Love it. Punta Cana traffic. JetBlue 1531 is clear of all
Ladies and
runways
gentlemen,
taxiing to the
this is
terminal.
the conclusion of our flight. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened.
One thing I
until the
didn't
captain
do
has
was
turned
I
off
didn't
the
actually
seatbelt
find a
sign and
gate.
aircraft is parked at the gate.
I usually have time to do this, but it's just such a quick
It's
flight.
safe to move about the cabin, gather your belongings, and disembark. We'd like to thank you for flying with us today.
Trying to do two things at
We
once. If I had the
appreciate
first
your
officer
business
here,
and hope to
he
see
could
you
do
again
this.
on a future flight.
TJSJ to MDPC, and it's just such a quick flight. I should have. I usually am on it, but I obviously just completely not paying any attention here. Okay, so let's pick this one here, and Terminal A doesn't say doesn't say where it arrived at. Just says what gate it arrived at. Just Terminal A. Which one's Terminal A? Terminal A is the first one with all the hard stand parking, which is actually great for screenshots anyway. So let's do that. Oops, no, hold on. Parking. Parking. So, and if I pull this up here really quickly, just while we're taxiing in, I hope he started the APU. I didn't even look. But let's pick a gate that's near the middle of the terminal here. Come on. You can do this. Come on. Alright, let's do this. Let's just get you... There we go. Parking gates. Yeah, anything 1, 5, 6, let's do 7. Alright, let's do gate 7, right in front of the terminal. So parking at gate 7. And we can just enjoy the scenery here. Alright, let me just look and make sure. Yeah, he did fire up the APU, so we're good. So gate 7 should be coming up there. We're going to have full ground service without a jetway, though. So this is going to be kind of fun, too. Alright. And we are still on time. We're early. We have 6 minutes. We're supposed to be here 16:25 at 16:19. So we're going to be on the stand probably about 4 minutes early, which is fantastic. It'll give us just a little bit more time to get the next flight done. So we left San Juan a little bit late just due to the amount of time it was taking me to prep everything. But we still got here on time, so I like it. I like it. Welcome to Punta Cana, everyone. And we're going to turn around and we're going to go back. Alright, so that was 5. This should be 6. And then next should be stand number 7. And we should have a marshaller. I do believe I see a marshaller standing in front of the tug there. So let's go ahead, go lights off. After landing checklist. After landing checklist.
Radar and predictive wind shear system.
Off.
After landing checklist completed.
And like I said, I do find that you could turn this much sharper. And I think this was a sim problem as much as anything else, because PMDG and all the jets suffered from this in that you could not turn the wheel. You could turn the wheel sharply, but the airplane would not turn a corresponding amount. It would always the nose wheel would drift sideways, it would turn slightly. And I think that was a sim limitation. I think the friction and the way ground handling was simulated in Microsoft Flight Simulator was not good, because it's been a problem with almost every airplane. Oh, feel this thing here. That right engine running at approach idle is just carrying us forward here. There we go. Definitely feels heavier now in version 2 as well, in Block 2 here. Alright, that's on, that's on. Alright, APU is on, boom. Cut number 2. Wait for the power transfer, there it was. Cut number 1, seatbelts off. Please remember to submit your flight, thank you, stand by. Alright, and just make sure these are cycling down. Yeah, they're pretty low now. Go ahead, go beacon off, and this is what triggers GSX to start deboarding. So it should bring the bridges over here, and it should start deboarding everything without me doing anything else. Alright. Landing gear LGCIU 2 fault, that's the known MEL. Clear landing gear status. And no change in status. Remove status, that's complete. Flights are all disarmed. Let's go ahead and, okay, he's got this done, constraints. Reset that back to 0. Let's have a look here. Wheels, warm but not unreasonable actually. It's pretty good right now. We don't have brake fans on this fin, but that's okay. Those should cool down by the time we get going. Status, nothing unusual there. Data position monitor, nav drifts 0.5 are very reasonable, and fuel 680,
Passengers bus is coming.
So that's 28, 40, yeah, 55. That makes sense. And then 1800. So we start with 75, 73. That's very reasonable. All right. So that's all reasonable. Transponders standby. I'm just going to clear it back to 1,000. Parking checklist.
Parking brake or chocks.
Set.
Engines.
Off.
Wing lights.
Off.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Parking checklist completed.
All right. There we go. Before I forget, let's submit leg 1. So where's my flight? Press submit. Sure you want to submit it? Yes, I do. Boom. Submitted. Just thinking about it for a second there. Alright, our flight has been submitted, which means we can turn around and do the next flight. So I'm going to do a quick little sim brief dispatch. The target takeoff time is on the hour, so I have 36 minutes from now. So we arrived early. I have 36 minutes to turn this around and get going again. If I stop talking as much as I do, we might actually get this done on time. Not necessarily guaranteed, but anyways. Okay, well, we're going to try and get this done here. Alright, so there we go. So we're now doing the return flight of 1632, MDPC back to TJSJ. TISX is fine as an alternate. It's got some rain showers in the forecast, but nothing, no low ceilings of visibility, for at least for the afternoon here today. 716 to 20, 4 miles is the worst thing I see. It's pretty good still. We want the IAE engine, so I'm going to pick that one. I do a performance factor of +1 just to give myself a little fudge. And let's see here. We'll do the Lido flight plan. Auto the passengers, 1 hour, and I'm going to say 1 hour and 5 minutes of block time. Routing looks good. Let's have a quick look at the weather as well. Weather radar. Anything, just a little bit of showery activity around San Juan, but nothing terrible, so I think we're good for this. Let's just see fuel planning and the text entries, and I should really cut and paste this from the previous flight plan here. So let me see if I can cut and paste this exactly here, because we really need this to also be on this one. And this time we're going to do the manual engine start and do it properly. So there's the MEL on there. And fuel, so the weather's looking pretty good at the destination, so I'm just going to give myself about 10 minutes of weather fuel and call it a day. And I think that's everything I need, so let's go ahead and hit generate, and let's file this next flight plan. And we're going to be 1632 on the way back. So we need block fuel of 4,700 kilos. We landed with 55, so we're already over the block fuel, so we don't even need the fuel truck. What we can actually do, and what our dispatcher should do, is should actually have planned us with extra fuel. So that's not the right one. So let's just do a release 2 with the updated fuel here. So block fuel's 48. We have 55.8. So let's put in, just to make the plan realistic, we'll say that we have an extra of, so 48 to 55 is 700. So everything else stays the same except we add 700 kilos of extra fuel that we more than expected. And we don't need any fuel. And this will be release 2, and this should be the one. Sorry, I missed the VATSIM controlling answer. Can answer that. Sorry, I missed that. I read that you can control VATSIM 2. Where do you usually control? Oh, I'm sorry, I totally missed that. I was too busy chatting to myself and talking to myself. But normally I control in Canada, anyways. I control pretty much everywhere in Canada. So, yeah, especially usually on weekends. Not so much during the week, but usually on weekends you'll find me controlling Canada, somewhere in Canada. All right. There's our plane. Take some nice external screenshots of us offloading on an open ramp operation, because it's not very often we do these open ramp operations. Most of the time it's jet bridge to jet bridge. Nice. Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll see me around controlling. If you fly around Oshawa, you'll see me controlling. I don't know why. Oh, I know why the beacon's still on there. That's switch on. Just trying to get things done here in reasonable time. Okay, so that's compiled there. We know about the circuit breaker panel trip. That's fine. I shouldn't ever clear it randomly, though. Should always double check that there's nothing new that tripped. That is just the one that's known. Oh, wait. There is something tripped. THS actuator. What? Look at that. Something else tripped. Or was that me that did it? Because sometimes when I'm scanning around the flight deck. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a reset on it. See if it stays failed or not. Interesting. Okay. Let's see here. So what do we got to get done here? So we've got the fuel. We've got the fuel we need. We've got the flight plan. Let's just check out the PDF here. So we do a pretty low cost index because it's a pretty quick flight. 5472. That's fine. Alright, so we have all the fuel we need, so we could probably start setting this up here. Have we finished the offloading? We have not finished the offloading. And that's the fun part too. So I'm just going to watch this just for a minute because it also gives me a chance to have some great screenshots. It really is like an impressive kind of operation here when you get GSX doing everything it's supposed to, doing it well. It really looks like really good. I really do enjoy it. I'm just gonna watch it just for a second and it's gonna be really kind of, it's just something you don't get to see very much. Most of the time these people are walking through jet bridges and you don't see anything. So it's kind of nice to see this stuff here. If I can just make this thing straight line here. There we go. Pretty close. Things you don't normally see very much. So kind of nice to see like all the effort that was put into GSX. 90% of the time in North America, you're jet bridge, you don't see these people walking off the airplane. So it's really kind of nice to actually see them. And actually, if you get back into flight deck even, if I turn around, oops, not that, you can even see these people spawning here. And oh, there's my flight attendant. Haha. But you can actually see people sometimes spawning in the airplane and walking off the airplane. So it's pretty interesting, neat, immersive environment. Okay, let's start setting up for the return flight. So the first thing I got to do is I got to disconnect and reconnect as 1632. And then I got pre-file my flight plan here, I guess. So let me hit pre-file on that. No deboarding of anybody, please. File flight plan filed. Weird that I didn't get an auto ADC out because it's not an American airport, I guess. Alright, so now that the deboarding is done, I should be able to go back into the tablet and restart this and start the next flight. Come on, let me in. So let's go My Flights, TJSJ to MDPC. All right, so import next flight. And, oh shoot, the one thing I didn't do. One thing I didn't do was I didn't adjust the departure time to be the actual departure time we're planning on. So it's not 7 minutes from now, it's 1700 on the hour. I don't normally worry too much about departure times, but I think it's going to be a fun challenge for this season is to set a departure time and really try your best to make it. Try to keep the schedule. Alright, so let's re-import this from SimBrief now that I've recalculated it. Now we got 29 minutes till departure time, perfect. So let's go ahead and trigger GSX to start loading. And there it goes, it's going to start loading. You can see it pops up the GSX menus just like Fenix GSX always did.
Passenger's bus is coming.
And it's going to start boarding, and in the meantime, we'll start getting ready. So, we should have the IRSs are already initialized. So let's go into data, aircraft status, and what you normally do is if you swap this database, it gets rid of everything that's stored in the FMS from the previous flights. So just to make sure everything's wiped completely clean, you swap the databases and swap it back to the current database. Let's see here. So we are at MDPC, and we're going to TJSJ. Boy. Feels like a lot of work, doesn't it? Just going back and forth all the time. JetBlue 1632. And IRS initialized at, it was initialized at MDPC. Our current is 1833.8. 1833.8 is 6821.8. So let's just check here. If I go to my flight plan and pull this over, and I might have too many windows open now. Nope, that's fine. Okay, good. Go to the flight log. 1834.2 is where we're aligned at. 1834.2 by 6822.0. 6821.6 is very reasonable. So I'd say the IRSs are still very reasonably aligned, and you can also check the position monitor versus the GPS. 0.5 is a very reasonable alignment. All right. Let's start setting up.
Roger.
I'll get him working on his thing. Never put the...
I'm out for the walk around.
The external power, and that's fine. He's going out there. CB trip, rear panel, L to R, N to R, and LGCIU2 fault. So again, this keeps recycling because we keep on reinitializing the flight here. So N to R, I've got that one tripped, and that's it. So CB tripped, rear panel, N to R, clear CB tripped, and landing gear LGCIU2 fault. We're going to do a manual start this time, I promise. LGCIU2 fault, roger. Clear that. And remove status. No changes in status, remove status. Alright. Let's see here. Okay, so. Oops. Let's see here. Still broken 2000. Still the wind's 140 at 11. So still very much we're going to depart off of runway 10. So let's go ahead and initialize our ATSU system here while he's out. And then when he comes back, we'll go through the flow and get everything done here. And hopefully we will depart on time on the second leg. So we got a new flight, so we're going to send a data request here. Should come back in about 10 seconds or so. There it is, 1632 MDPC to TJSJ. Alter TISX en route time 31 minutes. Super fast today. Hopefully one day they'll actually sit in their seats for the whole flight too. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see the GSX when it all works though. Alright, so that's all initialized. Let's go ahead and grab our secondary flight plan here. So init request secondary flight plan. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There it is. AOC secondary flight plan uplinks. Secondary flight plan, MDPC to TJSJ. That looks very reasonable, and we'll recheck it later, so let's just put that into the active. Check takeoff data is fine. Last but not least, we're going to need some takeoff numbers. Oh, here come our passengers now, going the other way. And there's that other JetBlue guy that pulled up next to us. Haha, hello fellow
bus is coming.
Let's see here. So takeoff data we're going to need for runway 09 in MDPC. Dry runway, optimal flaps. We have to force toga because of our MEL today. NTI's off. We're going to do packs on. Let's see here. Sync load sheet. I do this, and then I usually add like 200 just for a margin. So 65.5. That way if we end up a little higher than planned, 65.5. Enter. Alright. sync the current weather and calculate, and this should give us a toga takeoff value. It does. Perfect. I can even send that to the MCDU now. It's so much quicker than going back and forth looking here, 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 here. And in the real world, that's what you often do. Oftentimes you'll get that takeoff data through ACARS. There's one bus load of passengers. It's already boarded. That's pretty cool little view right up close. What old is blue again? I do like this livery, and that's another thing that's great about the new version of Fenix. It's a multitude of liveries. So many liveries, we don't even know what to do with them all anymore. And so what Fenix did was they basically reached out to the community and said, hey, we see a lot of you are really good at, what's the word I'm looking for? Really good at painting aircraft, at creating liveries. How would you like to come and make official liveries for us? And so they got agreed to do it. Like, in seconds, these people agreed to do it. And saving some screenshots of it later. It's so neat to see this here. Yeah, so they got all these painters together, so they've been very prolific, and some of these guys can churn out like a livery easily in like a couple of hours, like multiple liveries a day. So there are now like 6 different liveries for JetBlue that are official liveries. This is one of them. So every single flight I do this season is probably going to be in a different livery, which is just going to be fantastic. All right, just waiting for the FO to come back in so we can do our flow. Or did he already come back, do you think? I don't even know if he came back or not.
I'm back. No issues on the walk around.
I clicked the timer button until he was back. All right, let's do the overhead flow again. This time it's not first flight of the day, so we don't have to do any first flight actions. We can turn this on, but again, the CVR test is not going to do anything because the LGCIU2 is inactive. And that's the kind of thing, like the level of detail. The fact this button doesn't work because the LGCIU2 isn't off. That's the level of detail that Fenix has. That's what I love. I absolutely love it. Alright, so we should have nothing in the center tank, so we'll leave the center tank pumps off. Center tank pumps are off, and that's mode selectors manual, that's good. Batteries 1 and 2, we don't need to recheck. External power, we're just gonna continue running the APU. We probably need it anyways for the weather here in Punta Cana. Alright, strobe's good. Nope, strobe's not good. Keep doing that. Force a habit, because I've always done it in the past. We don't need fuel, so we're already fueled. That's fine. Everything's good there. All right, and let's get the flight directors back on. VOR mode. Constraints you want to have up right off the bat. Constraints. Let's see how long JetBlue hangs out next to us. Is he going to turn around and go back somewhere as well? That'd be fun. I always love it when people land, turn around, go back, and like they're on the ground continuously. They'll just like suddenly vanish after 5 minutes. They're there continuously. All right, no flags anywhere here. Seatbelts, no smoking. Parking brake, TCAS, standby. Company message, APU, that's all good. Recheck, still the right date. Accumulator's good.
Hi, the security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Go for it.
Okay.
Uncle Wiki says, I seem pretty good at this. Maybe I should do it for a living. You know, I've been thinking about that. Maybe you're right. You are full of good advice, aren't you? Yeah, maybe I should do this for a living. Seems like I know what I'm doing. I don't know how to handle an IAE engine, though. That is something that I am not familiar with. So that's the fun part of this adventure. We got the IAE. Look, we got EPR values, man. We don't have N1 now. Now we actually have to set EPR. And this is the one thing that I don't know. And if anybody can tell me this, I haven't really searched for this to answer yet, but does anyone know what basically the 50% on an EPR engine would be? Because like normally when you set takeoff thrust with the CFM engines, you go to 50% N1 and then hold it there, make sure the engines are stable, and then you go to the toga or your takeoff thrust setting. What value are you targeting for an IAE engine? What EPR value are you targeting for an IAE engine for your takeoff, pre-takeoff engine stabilization? I don't know what the value is. I haven't really looked hard, but if anyone can figure that out, I would love to know. Sending more pennies my way. Hooray! I might be able to afford to replace my monitor that now has a blue line up the middle. You guys can't see it, but there's just a nice blue stripe right up the middle of my monitor. It's really ticking me off. So I'm kind of on the hunt for a new monitor, as well as an upgraded video card. I'm going to probably get not just an HD, I'll probably get like a QHD monitor just to make sure that I'm kind of future-proofed against when I get my new video card. Anywho, distraction. What a terrible thing in this business. Flight instrument cross-check. 1FD2, altimeters 10, QNH 1016, indicating 20 feet, 1016 indicating 20 feet, 1016 indicating 20 feet, and just to double check here, it's going to install this in for a second here while it comes up. Heading is 187, 187, and we'll say 187, 187. Okay, come on, you can do this. You can do this. I believe in you. Field elevation actually for Punta Cana, it sounds reasonable at 20 feet, but let's just verify it. It is 47 feet. We are very reasonable at about 10 to 20 feet. All right. Hop it in the box again. It's that time already. And Travis, I can't even remember if you have a copy of the Fenix, but man, this version 2 is so fantastic. I told you, but like, it's just such a fantastic improvement. So many quality of life improvements that make this really like one of the ultimate airplanes now. If the performance was a little bit better, the only thing that I think PMDG outdoes the Fenix in is performance itself. I think my dog wants to go to the bathroom, so let's just give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna let the dog out. Darn needy dogs. Okay, so while we're setting that up, you really should, and you need a good computer to fly this thing. That's the only trouble. It's a bit of a resource hog. Okay, so let's go MDPC departure runway 9. Pull up my flight plan again here and see what it says here. So we're on the Mela 2 Tango to Mela, and then for San Juan we're going to arrive runway 10. We don't have a star, so Mela 2 Tango, no transition, so runway 9, Mela 2 Tango, insert, and San Juan we don't have a star, but we will do the ILS to 10, no star, and that's it. ILS 10, no star, none, insert. We're going to have to really kind of put something in, some descent planning in there. Total distance of 172. And 172 is, looks like I got a ground distance of 152. That's pretty reasonable. Probably doesn't account for the fact we got to go back and forth to do an ILS in San Juan. So that's pretty good. We've got no steps today, no lat longs. Did I miss something here? I feel like I missed a bunch of steps, didn't I? I did. All right, let's start from the beginning again. So the A320-200, V2527 Alpha 5 engines, performance factor +1. Nothing to detune, so nothing is deselected. Initialization, yeah, I missed some of this here, so let's go back in here and do this in order. I was just looking at the flight plan page, so I picked it up and just started from there, but that's not where it was. JetBlue 1620, 1623, 1632, 1632. JetBlue 1632. Punta Cana, San Juan, TISX is the alternate. And I'm going to start doing this with the flight plan here and start doing it on my tablet just to make it a little bit easier. Cost index of 5. Cruise altitude of flight level 190. And the temperature deviation for today +13. So from -9, that's going to be +4. And 5770 for a trope seems pretty reasonable with that high ISA. All right, now back to flight plan where we have put in the departure, we have put in the arrival, we double checked the distance 172, there's no steps, and there's no user-defined waypoints in our flight plan that we need to verify. So we go data, next page, pilot's routes, and first of all we delete all, and this may or may not work again here, but let's try it. JBU 1632. I find this is one of the things that is still a little bit finicky, is just doing storing the active flight plan. Oh, it worked. Very good. So the routing that we've got in the box after Mela is G633 to MAS, which is correct. Route 12 to SJU, and then direct. So that all double checks. Beautiful. RadNav page, auto-tune is good. Secondary flight plan, we're going to recopy all the information from the active flight plan, and then we're going to go after Mela and do a new destination of MDPC. So if something happens immediately after takeoff, we're going to be able to return here very quickly. So MDPC arrival, we're going to plan the RNAV 09 again. We can do it the same way as before. No star, just an approach via DAVSO is probably good. And return. And so now after Mela, Discon, DAVSO, PC250, Liban, MDPC 09. So if we have an emergency after takeoff, we can immediately activate the secondary and return here for an immediate landing. In it, page 2. Taxi fuel of 0.2 is very reasonable. 0 route reserve. Alternate reserve today, alternate fuel 1.4 looks like. And final reserve of 1.1. ZFW. See how well this is going to work here. MCDU, ATSU, AOC, and receive messages. Hey, look, we got some more messages here. Load sheet. This is the final numbers for today. 60 tons. 60 tons, 168 people, 31.7. So I can type that on here. 60 by 31.7. And there it is, 60 tons by 31.7. Up there, the block fuel of 5 point, what are we at now? By the time we take push back from the gate, we're at 50. Yeah, we'll be at 55. That's fine. So let's go ahead and go boop.
One to counter traffic, JetBlue 90 Papa pushing back from stand 6.
Ooh, he turned around faster than I did. Ah, I see. The race is on. I thought 35 minutes is a pretty reasonable turn. Let's see here. Wind component plus 8. So an 8 knot tailwind. And that should get us to... let's see here. So should be about 31 minutes. And 1,400 kilos. 34, 1.6. Okay, not terrible. It was a little bit longer by 20 miles, so that makes sense. The extra of 1.4. So we got 0.7 here, plus another 0.5. That's 1.2, plus a contingency, another 0.2. So 1.4 extra, 41 minutes. That all makes sense. So let's go ahead and zero that out. We'll go back to init A page, wind, and request the wind. It takes a little while to get used to the Airbus, but once you get into it, it really is not a hard airplane. There's a lot of very straightforward stuff about it. Next. It's a little bit, when you first start it, you're kind of floundering because there's so much to do and so many things to put in, but there is a certain logic to it. All right, perf page. So takeoff runway 09. We've planned this with a dry runway, no takeoff shift, flaps 1. It's a toga takeoff because of our MEL. V1 143, VR 143, V2 144. Transition altitude here is 17,000. And the only thing I don't have, this should probably be 1050 or something like that. So let's just quickly check and see what it says over here. Loaded is good. 1050, I was right. All right. So let's do this one here. Okay, so I can't see the whole keyboard there. I don't see the whole keyboard. It's not good. 1050 by 1050. So thrust reduction and acceleration of the normal departure will happen at 1050. In case of an engine out, the acceleration will also happen at 1050. 211 is the green dot speed. We will pre-select that for the climb, so it'll default to the green dot speed for the initial part of the climb. And prog page. Optimal will be 35.
Hi guys, here is the load sheet for you.
Thank you. Thanks.
No problem. Have a safe flight.
One I know is the cruise, and 36.4 would be the max, so that's fine. MDPC, let's see here, 09, we'll put that in there as just our bearing reference point. GPS is primary, nav accuracy high, and the data position monitor. Nav's 0.5, 0.4s across the board. It's very reasonable. Alright, so I don't believe we have any ATC online, so we're just going to use the default transponder code. No ATC online. So we have no clearance. Aggressive flight pollution doesn't care if you're talking. She just wants to get home. Yeah. That's exactly it. All right. So again, this is now that we're doing the an RNAV departure. So let's pull up the plate for the departure out of San Juan here. So, or not out of San Juan, sorry, out of Punta Cana. We're going to San Juan. RNAV sits off of runway 09, and I'm gonna go let my dogs in just a minute. It's a nice day out there anyways. That'll be okay for a minute or so here. But we are doing the Mela to Tango. So at Mayrog, right turn, Mela to Tango at Mayrog, which is a departure, right turn, heading track 149 via PC 103. And PC 104. Just trying to make sure I can see everything all at once here. It's terrible. All right. Normally I have this on my tablet, so I don't even worry about what you guys see. But all right. So Mayrog, right turn, track 149 to via PC 103 and PC 104 to Mela, and that's it. That's pretty easy. Is there an altitude on this? Climb to 5,000. Love it. Okay, perfect. So everything's on there. PC 104 is below 15,000. Oh, sorry, it's below 5,000. So we'll have to make sure. It looks like that is programmed in there, 5,000 at PC 104. I can check it this way as well. Yeah, at or below 5,000. So that's fine. All right. All right, so technical status of the airplane. We still have the same MEL as before. This time we're going to do the manual start. All right, so the MEL we have for today's flight plan is LGCIU2, MEL 32-31-01 Alpha. We've pulled these circuit breakers. I've verified it, and we keep on getting the message here. The circuit breaker, the one circuit breaker is not simulated, but the second one is, and it's pulled. And then it gives us all this stuff that happens when LGCIU2 is in op, because LGCIU sends the air-ground information to a whole bunch of systems. LGCIU sends 1 sends it to some systems, 2 sends it to the other. With 2 missing, we lose all this stuff. So avionics ventilation system doesn't work properly. The PTU is going to run on the ground. You'll notice the fault lights will come on the hydraulic system on the ground. Oh, this is not properly simulated. Oh, I found a bug. ATC, the transponder ground mode is not active on ATC2, so we have to use ATC1. The strobe auto mode is not correct. When only the APU generator or GPU supplies the aircraft, main galleys are not supplied. Now this is important stuff. Engine 2 on the ground. FADEC is continuously supplied, so you can see FADEC 2 is already on. Automatic start abort is an op, so we have to do a manual start procedure to make sure we have the manual abort. Minimum idle is operative when flaps are extended, so we always have a higher idle when the flaps and slats are extended, even on the ground, so we'll taxi really quickly if we're not careful. Use toga for takeoff. We can't use the flex takeoff because in the flex T10 it's going to think we're in the air. It's just going to go to MCT. Thruster first on the number 2 side is an op. And a bunch more stuff, but that engine stuff is kind of the big stuff, really. So we'll have to do the manual start on engine 2. All right, we're getting there. All right, so the departure today. It is the Mela 2 Tango departure off runway 09 in Punta Cana. This is on plate 10-3 Alpha. The routing constraints are all as published here. The top altitude 5,000, so 5,000 feet is set. And Roger 5,000. Let's see here. Noise abatement, nothing that I'm aware of. We're just going to do a standard noise 2 departure out of here. We'll climb as quickly as we can. Company 1010 pages, not a mountainous airport. Level of service is not an issue here. And engine out procedure will just continue straight ahead to the MSA of 3,000 feet before we make any turns. Let's see here. Performance in the box today for the departure off of runway 09 here in Punta Cana. It's no takeoff, shift the full length, flaps 1 departure, toga takeoff, no flex numbers, V1 143, VR 143, V2 144, standard transition 17,000, 1050 across the bottom for the noise 2 departure. 211 is pre-selected for the climb. It's going to be a managed departure, so we do have climb blue, nav blue. We'll get the autopilot on probably around 1,000 feet, and because it's going to be a quick flight back to San Juan, we'll have to readjust everything once we get going. Threats, the short flight is a bit of a threat today. That probably is the biggest threat, really. It's just a short flight, and we're just trying to get through and get an on-time departure here in 5 minutes. No single engine taxi today. We'll do no single engine taxi. OEB 6 and 46 will say still apply, and we'll say the IWU has already been done for the day. I think we got everything taken care of here pretty much. Looks like they've already finished boarding without us, so we can go ahead and close the door. And I'm just going to go let my dogs back in before we actually get ready to push back off the gate here. So just give me 1 second to let them back in, and I will be right back.
Exit seating criteria.
Okay, back with you guys. I think we are just about ready. We got everything covered off more or less. One thing I'm going to do is I am going to pull up my QRH and find my manual start procedure. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to look for one to see if there is one. I'm sure there's probably one floating out or if they're on the internet. But manual engine start checklist. I'm going to read through this because it's important to read through this one before we get going. Manual engine start checklist. Pilots normally use automatic starting to start an engine. However, manual starting is recommended because of the following cases: boarding start because of engine stall, engine EGT over limit, low start air pressure,
traffic JetBlue's 90 Papa departing.
or when expecting a start aboard because of degraded bleed performance due to hot conditions, an engine with a reduced EGT margin to hot conditions or higher airfield margin perform blah blah blah. During a manual engine start, if the flight crew suspects an engine start malfunction or if an engine-related ECAM is triggered, the first officer must report the start sequence as follows. Before the engine master lever is set to on, set the engine man start push button to off. After the engine master lever is set to on, set the engine master lever to off, and then the engine man start push button switch to off. In that case, the flight crew should consider a dry crank of the affected engine before they perform another start attempt. Then in the case of an ECAM alert, the first officer must announce ECAM actions in accordance with ECAM management philosophy. So the checklist is: thrust lever is idle, engine mode selector normal, then ignition start. When all engine parameters are available on the upper ECAM display, the man start push button we push on. Start valve check in line, N2 increase check, oil pressure increase check. When N2 reaches, so for the CFM it says 22%, so I'm going to go with 25% for the IAE engines. Or the maximum motoring speed, engine master on, chrono start, igniters A and B check on, fuel flow increase check. Within 15 seconds we should get EGT increase and N1 increase. When N2 reaches 50%, start valve, check cross line, igniters A and B check off, main parameters, engine parameters check normal, secondary engine parameters check normal, engine man start push button switch off, engine mode select normal. When all other engines required to be started manually, shedded systems restores, SOP engine start resumes. So I've read through the whole thing once because it kind of all happens pretty quickly when you do it. So you kind of want to make sure you've at least looked through it once so that you're kind of ready for all the different actions. You kind of have a mental picture of what you're going to do here. Alright, so I think we got everything. Let me just make sure that my tracker's going here. That's going. The one thing I probably need to do is actually reset my overlay there. So I'm going to put MDPC to TJSJ. And JetBlue is now 1632. Okay on that. And you guys should see 1632 appear on the top there in a second. It does. Beautiful. This seems like it's in the pre-flight stage. It knows that we're about to go flying. I think that's all ready to go. I think we're good. I think we're good. Before start checklist. Reggie, are you? Before start checklist.
Parking brake.
Set.
Takeoff speeds and thrust.
V1 143, VR 143, V2 144, Toga.
V1 1 2 4, VR 1 3 5, V2 1 3 9.
Hello, Captain.
Windows.
We are ready for pushback.
Closed.
Beacon.
On.
Before start checklist completed.
Alright, obviously I botched this because I never actually asked if he was ready for the departure briefing. I just gave it. Pushback required, radar not required, weather good, config 3. Are we doing config 3 or are we doing config 1? No, we're doing config 1 on this one.
Departure
One
checks
is
completed.
F, thrust,
Bypass
normal,
ignition.
weather, threats, complacency is always a threat. Takeoff runway is 09, V1 speed 143, VR speed 143, V2 speed 144, flex temp, nothing. Cruise altitude 19,000, stretch altitude 1,000 feet. Okay, that's better. Alright, so they're coming to push us back here. We are ready to depart Punta Cana and make our way back. I love the fact that we have different accents too with GSX in different countries. That it's one more little level of immersion. It's just amazing how these things add up to a very immersive experience. Okay, I've got the checklist right in front of me for my manual engine start here. And maybe I'll put it right here. So we're going to go nose, tail left. Nose right, tail left.
Release parking brakes, please.
Alright. So we got everything ready to go. We're going to go ahead and go.
Commencing push.
Brakes are off. Ready to push back
All
lane. Start
engines
to left.
clear. Start at wing.
Alright. Here we go. Pushback is underway. So, we're going to do the manual start. All right, so starting engine 2.
Okay.
All right, so again, thrust levers idle. Idle. Engine mode selectors normal, then ignition. So this should reset everything to the ignition mode. Ignition.
Roger.
I thought I muted you. When all engine parameters displayed on the ECAM, these ones you don't normally see, but everything else you normally see. Engine man start valve, push button valve, push. So engine, man start, number 2, push. Start valve, check in line, yes. N2 increase, check, yes. Oil pressure increase. Looking for an oil pressure, and it usually comes right around 20%. We start to see it pop up. There it is, oil pressure increase, good. And when N2 reaches 25% or max motoring speed, so I'm going to go 25% on the IAE engines here. There's 25%. Engine master on. Engine master 2 on. Chrono start. So we should see igniters A, B come on. They do. We should see fuel flow. We do. Looks like we do see light off here. Fuel flow increase. So we do see AGT increase, and we do see N1 increase. When N2 reaches 50%, start valve. Check cross line. Alright, so she is starting. She's almost there. She's going to be another pretty warm start here. But we did exceed 50%. We did get the start valve cross line. Igniters A and B are off. Main engine parameters check normal. Everything looks normal.
Please set parking brakes.
So we can go engine man start push button off. Engine mode selector, normal. When no other engines required to be started manually, shed assistance, restore SOP engine start. So we got, looks like we got a good manual start on number 2. This time I followed the SOP correctly. All right, sorry ground guys, just we had to do a manual start here, so it's a little bit tedious. Brakes are set, confirm the pins removed. All right, and starting engine 1.
Okay.
Unlocking gear.
There we go. I'm happy that we got that one in there. And I feel bad. Like, the first time was just...
Road track disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Sometimes there's so much going on, though.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Why am I not getting a start on number 1 here? Why have I got no ignition going on either? That's very weird. Got no ignition, and I've got no fuel flow. It's like it wants a manual start as well, which it should not. That's very weird. Alright, I'm going to port the start right now. That was a little odd. Why did that one not start? Because that one started fine the last time, and it should start. I'm going to reset the starter again here. There goes the crew with the pin. This is a little bit odd. Nothing unusual pulled on those circuit breakers there. No, okay. I may do a second start. Alright, I want to see this basically cycle back to less than 5% here, and then we're going to try this again. Is there something that's in the wrong spot here? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and just go to normal for a moment here. To approach idle, center tank fuel, usable Cat 3 single only, Cat 1 dual, that's all normal, that's all kind of expected. I never did accept this, but we'll accept that. Alright. We got XX values there, so let's go ahead and go start engine 1. Or is it just because engine 1's too hot? Alright, so let's go ahead and crank engine 1. Let's watch this EGT here, because the EGT does start to rise as the compressor starts to move air through it, and warm air starts flowing across the exhaust. Maybe that's why it didn't even trigger yet. Maybe he's waiting for this to cool off a little bit here. Okay, so it is kind of starting to cool off a little bit here. Now we've got ignition. Now we've got fuel flow. I think we might have just been a case that it was too warm. Because the Embraer does that, and this was what Amir was talked about with the IAE engines, is that they will motor the engine without adding fuel or ignition if the EGT is too hot, just to prevent it from overheating during the start. So to cool the engine down, it'll run the starter for a while, running air through the engine to cool it down so it doesn't overheat on the start, because these are pretty warm engines. Alright, so we got 15%, looks like we got this here. That looks pretty good. I think that was ignition A that time, so I think it is swapping ignitions. It does look like the ignition systems are all running properly. Alright, so that time it worked normally. After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Off.
Ecam status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
Point 3 down. Set and checked.
Rudder trim.
Neutral.
After start checklist completed.
Clear on the left.
Clear right side.
Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Punta Cana traffic, JetBlue 1632 is at the terminal. We're taxiing for departure for runway 9er. And the double windsock. I noticed that before when I was here. For some reason there's a double windsock in the scenery. And they don't agree either. That's probably the funniest part. One thinks the wind's out of the east, one thinks the wind's out of the west. Oh, good times. Alright, so he's got the taxi lights on, that's good. I'm just gonna go right down here, parallel to the threshold of the runway. Is there somebody else? Is that the JetBlue guy down there? He left a long time ago, I think, didn't he? Thought he left a long time ago. We'll see who it is in a second here. Flight control check.
Ready. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Alright, and pedal disconnect.
Full left. Full right. Neutral.
I'm just going to stop here for a second, just because I don't want to get trapped on the VATSIM network here, because I haven't heard this guy call, so I want to see if I can figure out what he's doing for a second here. Why can I not make my drone move? I think he is moving. It's not the drone. I just want to see if he's moving towards the runway before I go down there, because I wouldn't want to get trapped behind somebody.
Set.
So is this a JetBlue guy, and is he waiting a long time? I don't think it's JetBlue, but whoever it is moving. Okay, so I don't know who it is, but they are moving, so that's fine. Taxi checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flap setting.
Config 1+F.
Config 1+F. Radar and predictive wind shear system.
On and auto.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff, no blue.
Taxi checklist completed.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen,
There
welcome
is
on
the
board
blue.
our flight
There is a
today.
blue, but it's only the cabin,
This
so I
is
don't really
the
count the
lead
cabin
flight
blue when it's blue.
attendant
Okay, so he was moving.
Please
I just couldn't tell
direct
because they
your
hadn't heard
attention
me.
to the cabin crew for
Radio calls at all. I am on Unicom, right? Wait a minute, what's my
There is an
frequency?
instruction card in your seat pocket that illustrates the safety equipment on this aircraft.
What the heck happened to my
Regulations
frequency?
require compliance with this information as well as all crew instructions, lighted information signs, and posted.
Alright, I'm just going to stop for a second and retune the radio. I wonder I'm not hearing any radio calls. And I think I'm making radio calls, but I'm not.
Lift a metal flap on the buckle. It is our policy that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated. Doors are clearly marked with exit signs and instructions for door
There we go,
operation.
fixed it.
Each door is equipped with an escape slide. Locate the exit
Flight deck.
nearest you.
The cabin is now
The
secure
nearest
for
exit
takeoff.
may be behind
Thank you.
In an emergency, lights will illuminate the aisle. The cabin is pressurized.
Punta Cana traffic. JetBlue
If there is a loss
1632 is
of
taxiing
cabin
for departure,
pressure,
runway
a
9er.
panel will open and oxygen masks will appear.
So it wasn't me.
Remain
Somehow I was
seated
on the
with
wrong
your
frequency.
seatbelt fastened and pull a
I
mask
don't even know.
towards
I don't even know
to
how
start
that
the
changed
flow
to a
of
random
oxygen.
frequency like that. That was weird.
Oxygen will be flowing to the mask even though the bag may not inflate. Cover your nose and mouth with the mask. Place the elastic band around your head and
definitely a little
tighten
bit
by
odd.
pulling on the ends. Secure your own mask before assisting others. Your seat bottom cushion may be used as a flotation device. Pull up and remove the cushion. Upon exiting the aircraft, place your arms around the cushion and hold on to the straps located on the back. This is a non-smoking flight. Smoking is not permitted in the cabin
Really?
or laboratory.
That's what you're going to show me now? Thank you.
Cabin lights will
Yes.
now be turned off.
I do use a backup service,
Reading
and I do
light
like backup.
buttons are
I think it's
located
fantastic.
above your seat.
I did have a
Thank you
hard
for your
drive crash,
attention.
and I was able to download all the information again. It took a little while, but very easily. It's definitely low stress, anyways. Punta Cana traffic, JetBlue 1632, taking position runway 9er for departure, eastbound, Mala departure. Alright, anybody on the TCAS? Nobody's on the TCAS. We are in all. I might even put it into above. Clear left side. Clear left side.
Clear right side.
Brakes check.
Pressure 0.
Cleared for departure.
Takeoff runway confirm. Approach path, clear of traffic. Cabin crew be seated for takeoff.
Lineup checklist.
Takeoff runway.
Runway 10. Runway 9er. Confirmed.
Runway 09 confirmed. TCAS.
TARA. TARA.
Packs 1 and 2.
On.
Lineup checklist completed.
Alright, so I don't know what the setting's supposed to be. I'm going for about 1.15 here.
Set.
Takeoff.
Check.
Mantoga SRS auto thrust blue.
Checked. Thrust set. ...100 knots.
Roger.
V1, rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Nav.
Gear up.
Autopilot 1. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Flap 0.
Speed checked. Flap 0.
Set flight level 190. Set flight level 190. Get myself in. Speeds managed. Alright, circuit breaker. Divide. Alright, we are managed. Gonna level off at 5,000 here momentarily. Let's wait till we level off at 5,000. Should be just the circuit breaker we're expecting. There we go. This is about the cloud deck though. We gotta be below 5,000 to PC 104. So here comes. It should be alt constraint star. This is one of the few glitches that still exists. It shouldn't be alt star. If you're leveling at alt constraint, it should be alt constraint star. Speed alt constraint star. And come on. Almost. Alright, there is alt constraint. Alright, ECAM action, CB tripped rear panel and our have another look, see, that's the one we pulled. It's collar specifically for the MEL. I don't see anything else. Clear CB, and status. Stop ECAM, anything outstanding at this point. We've done the after takeoff checklists, we've done all that, the after takeoff level, that's all good. Alright, continue ECAM, engine 2 approach idle only, center tank fuel unusable, center tank pumps, the LGCIU 2 and reverser 2 are all in off. It's the same as before. Remove status, ECAM actions complete. There we go, we got that done during the level off. Alright, anybody on?
And Punta Cana traffic, level 085, we're 14 miles now to the east of the airfield. 13,000 feet, climbing up to cruise, flight level 420, Punta Cana traffic.
Punta Cana traffic, JetBlue 1632 is 15 miles east of the field, climbing through 5500 eastbound San Juan. Final call, Punta Cana. Alright, so there goes our altitude constraint. We are now climbing again here. Let's see what it looks like. So there's our top of climb, there's our top of descent. Just see the white hook coming in there. So we got a little bit of time, but not much time. This is going to be even faster, and we're actually going to move that top of descent point because the way the flight is planned right now, we're going all the way to the airport in San Juan, then we're going to back 10 miles and then do the straight in approach to runway 10, which is not how we're going to fly it. So let's get above 10,000 feet and we'll reassess that. Alright, going through 8,000. I just want to have a quick look here and just make sure it is tracking us here as, yes, we are flying. It does say that we're flight stage climb. It does recognize that we're en route, so good. The tracking is working for the pilot flight. Alright, wow, that felt like I just felt like a mind-blowing experience to try and get this turned around in that time. So often I just do one leg at a time, so trying to do the turns is, in the sim, I just feel like I'm forgetting something, because there's so many things you have to do in the sim that you may not do as a real pilot, like filing your own flight plan and making sure the fueler gets the order and all that stuff. Like, there's certain things that, like, it's a little bit odd anyways. Things feel a little different when you're doing a turn in the sim. Alright, so there is speed's now managed. We're 10,000, climbing flight level 2, flight level 190. That's good. Go. Yeah, window seatbelts off for the short duration of this flight here. Alright, we'll go on to airport page. Clear RadNav.
Okay.
Make sure that everything is clear on the RadNav page. Secondary, we should also recopy prog page. We should recheck to make sure that we are well below the max, which we are at 190. It's really not much of an issue today. Let's see here. Already got guard frequency. Nope, guard frequency got mangled too somehow. I don't know what happened there. That's weird. Both of my frequencies got mangled. I've never seen that before on the Fenix. Alright, so now I've got normal frequency there. 21.5 is good. Does this work if I do this? Yeah, 21.5. Yeah, neat. Let's see here. The cabin is pressurizing through 2200 at PSI of 4.2 differential, and the let's see here. What am I doing? The fuel page. So let's just make sure we got kind of equal here. So we got about 23 per side, which is 46 total, which is good. 46 plus the fuel burned already, which is almost 900. Takes us up to 55, which is where we started at. So the fuel is all accounted for. No fuel leaks to be found. All right. So let's go through our FMS here really quickly because this is a short leg. We've only got 143 miles left to go, and we will probably be early for this arrival by the looks of it. So let's just follow this here. So Joshi, Varna, SJU, and then we go back to Tanner, Remzi, and that's probably not practical. So let's kind of have a look at this in the charts, just see how this compares to what we actually will end up probably flying. So I didn't actually reload the second flight plan because I had the same airport, so I didn't really need it, but I want to see the routing. Let's import this from SimBrief really quickly back to San Juan. And let's hide this and let's take this away. So, Varna and then SJU, but if I take San Juan and overlay the RNAV Zulu runway 10 on this, or the ILS 10, even, yeah, I can do the ILS 10. Yeah, Varna's a little bit before it, but on this leg, VCUG is a DME arc that hits it directly, so I think that's probably the best bet. Let me just see if there's a star that comes from this direction. The west, not really. Nope, that comes from the east. Oh, look at this, the Josh 3 arrival from Mela to Josh. Do I have Josh on here? Josh is already on here. Let's do this. I'm surprised we didn't file that. That's weird that we didn't file that, but let's change this up then. So let's do arrival, and let's do, so we're doing the ILS to 1, and, what transition are we doing? Oh, we're doing straight into Tanner. It takes us straight to Tanner, so that's fine. No transitions required there, but then we're going to do the Josh 3, and we'll either do it via Mela or Josh. Just past Mela, so let's put Mela in there and then it'll take us to Josh. Alright, so ILS 10, Josh 3, Mela. I see that we've got to level off here in a second, so I'm inserting that. And, alright, so first of all I gotta do standard.
Standard, cross-checked, passing flight level 177.
That's more important than we level off at 190, then we're gonna pull heading. Because our Mela Josh is not quite along our flight plan route, doesn't know what to do, so now we can insert it. And then what we can do is we can probably give it a little turn to the right and push heading to arm nav, and it'll get back on course here. We're 0.5 miles to the left of course. We could do direct, or we're just going to go with Josh here. And that gives us a much more realistic descent point. There's nav mode already. There's 185, 190.
We'll begin our meal service for the flight.
Wow.
Please refer to the menu given to
Speed,
you on
Alt
boarding
Star.
for 2 meal choices and your beverage choices available. We request that you keep the aisles clear to assist the flight attendants, to serve you efficiently, and also for your own safety. Thank you.
Speed, alt cruise. We got a very slow cruise today, and I'm okay with that because we kind of got a lot of stuff to do in a very short period of time here. Got descent point coming up there. So we're showing arrival 1747. flight attendants, 20 minutes to landing. Alright, so let's do a quick landing distance calculation, although I'm pretty sure we can land on 10. Let's do the calculation here. It did rain earlier, so we're going to put it as a wet runway 5. Let's see here. Landing weight for today, 64. We'll do 64 and a half again. 64 and a half is good. Let's apply the METAR here. Refresh METAR. There we go. Apply that one. Looks like low auto brake might take us off the end here on a wet runway. So, yeah. Do medium auto brake. Because we can't take any credit for the first because the first number 2 isn't off. So manual, landing flap, full auto thrust on. Yeah, that's good. So we're going to do a medium reverse. Alright. Quick status check before we set up for the arrival. So everything's the same as before. Engine 2 approach idle only. Center tank fuel unusable is normal. And LGC IU2 and reverser R2 are in op. We've already accounted for that with the runway conditions, so that's good. So let's just go through this really quickly here because we have to set this up pretty darn quick because we're already approaching our top of descent point. So, top of descent here. So the star, Josh has to be above 7,000. Let's just do this here, and I'm going to just pull up my tablet here. So, we're on our way from Mela to Josh on the arrival. And Josh is above 7,000. I can see that. And then we go, just going to have to zoom this in a little more here. Then we go off to Zugod and Tanner. And there's Tanner. And then that's where we transition to the ILS to runway 10. It starts at Tanner. Tanner's got to be 2,200 for procedure turns. I don't actually have a 2,200 altitude for Tanner. Everything I see here basically says we should probably be above 5,400. Yeah, they should be above 5,400. I guess we can probably get a vector. But anyways, we'll go with 2,200 right now. Remzi 1,500. We should be getting ATC that would probably get us lower than that. 5,400 is the MSA. Is the only thing we have to go on that. I don't think we have altitude. No, we do have 3,400. So if we cross Tanner at or above 3,400. So let's go and do that. I'm going to change the restriction to 3,400 plus at Tanner. Alright, so then Josh, so now it's 3,400 plus at Tanner, which means that restriction of this transition here, 57 at Zugod. So we've got 7,000 there at Josh. Zugod 5,700. Tanner 3,400, and then down to Remzi at 1,500 for the straight-in ILS to runway 10, and then and missed approach is 1,900 feet, then climbing left turn to 3,000, heading 300, and intercept the course of 004 outbound to DD intersection and hold at 3,000. All right, that's all in there. RadNav, we should have ICLA 1097. ICLA 1097, final approach course 104 is in there. 101 is a bit off, but sometimes the magnetic variation is not quite correct. We'll run with it for now, see how it looks with the VMC anyways. Prog page, so I'm going to put just TJSJ on here for a reference point. We're 70 miles from the airport. We're going to start down in a second here. GPS is high performance for the landing, and again, I'm going to pull up the weather for San Juan really quickly here. We're looking at, let's see here, altimeter 2999er. Temperature of 31 degrees. What a nice day there. And 140 at 11. And the barrel mins for this approach are showing right now 260. I'm going to have to check and see if there's no temps for that right now. The missed approach is at 3,000. So much to do on such a short flight. 3,000. Fuel prediction, we're showing 1.4 extra, so we can definitely do a go around without too much issue there. Recopy the active, get us back on track here, and that's basically it. So let's just come on. And we we're basically approaching our top of descent point here, so I will set 7,000 here and start a descent. So there is mock descent, all blue. You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
Okay, so technical status of the airplane. We do have the LGCIU-2 fault MEL, and basically what that means is we don't get reversers on the number 2 side, and we don't get reversers on number 2 side. We also have high idle for the taxi and high approach idle for the taxi in. The NOTAMs, let me just really quickly check the flight plan here and see if there's any NOTAMs for San Juan. Anything that especially affects the approaches themselves. So I know that runway 8 was closed, and approach procedures, ILS or load runway 10, DMs required, ILS or load runway 10, any higher minimums, I'm kind of suspected of construction around the airport, but no, nothing for runway 10, so that's good. Let's do transition to 299er. 299er is set and cross-checked. Alright, so the arrival is now going to be the Josh 3 arrival. Routing and constraints are all as published. This is on plate 10-2 Bravo. That's for San Juan Luis Munoz. And no special note star applicable to turbojet aircraft only. Hey, that's us. And we've got the transition programmed in for the straight-in ILS to runway 10 in San Juan. 11-2, my throat's starting to die. ICLA 1097, 101, that's all auto-tuned. REMZ 1500, the ILS DA 260 at set, and Mr. Approach is as published revised by ATC. Top altitude 3000 there. The highest MSA is 5400 south of the field due to the higher terrain inland over Puerto Rico. Oh, excuse me, my throat is suddenly dying here. No special notes. The transition level is 180. Pappy's on the left. MALSR lighting system, half mile, visibility 260 feet straight in. Landing on runway 10 will take the convenient left turn off the runway. We'll aim to touch down the optimum touchdown zone from the aiming marks at 1,000 feet thereafter. Touchdown point limit is the 3,000 foot marks. The end of the touchdown zone will take the convenient left turn off the runway, maybe Hotel 5 or Hotel 6 with medium auto brake. If it's dry and not wet, then it should work out pretty well. We'll taxi back to the terminal via probably Hotel or even November 3, but probably Hotel. We'll make a left turn on the Hotel. Usually we park on the south side here for JetBlue, so I'll get a gate in a minute. In terms of the approach, it's going to be a managed approach to a manual landing. We'll have, it's a low glide slope coupled approach. Once again, I need more drag. Anti-ice will be off. Auto brake is medium. Reverse, we'll do idle reverse initially. We'll apply some reverse as we see fit, but we'll confirm the directional control because we will not have reverser deploying on the number 2 side, so it'll tend to pull the aircraft to the left, having only reverse on number 1 side. Config full for landing. We'll disengage the autopilot when the runway is in sight. Landing is assured, no traffic's in sight. And I think that's about it. Let's pull up the Unicom frequency for 3205 for San Juan, which is still in the backup from before, which is great. We just get a gate for, let's see here, so we can do it this way. I do this. All flights between San Juan and Cana, and then let's reverse it. Search. Let's find a JetBlue flight. Alright, so today's flight arrived at gate Alpha 2. So let's just have a quick look at where gate Alpha 2 is. San Juan. Just so we're aware and we can plan. Gate Alpha 2. And Alpha 2's, okay, right here on apron 4, kind of at the start of this kind of jetting out part of the terminal. Okay, so that's where we're going after landing. Any questions? Any questions?
No questions.
I have control.
You have control.
Alright, threats for this approach. I've been put terrain on because there is a little bit of higher terrain kind of over the center of the island here. So because we're kind of coming up over the center of the island, I'm going to have terrain mode on my side to avoid the terrain. Looks like we're caught up to the path. Stow the speed brakes there. I think I got everything. I feel like I have not stopped talking for about 3 hours now because, wow, what a lot of work when you got to do these things. One right after the other, and especially when they're short legs. Anything like with less than about 45 to 50 minutes of airtime. It's a really quick flight. Really, really quick. So I think we're doing pretty good here. I think we're just about ready to go. Ready for this approach here. Here comes 10,000, so let's do approach checklist.
Barrow ref.
2999 set.
2999 set. Seatbelts.
On.
Minimum.
260 feet set.
Auto brake.
Medium, armed.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist completed.
Oh, am I caught up? Did I do everything I have to do? I think I got everything done. Oh man, what a lot of work there. All right, now we can enjoy actually looking at Puerto Rico for a minute here. Wow, and I was thinking about this too. I was like, oh, and then we're through 10,000, so let's get the LS buttons up there as well. I was thinking about this too. Is like I would love to have set up a failure today, but between the MEL and just the two short flights back to back, like just a complete total cluster of workload. Like I could not have dealt with a failure. Any failure today would have extended the stream because I would not have enough time to get this done. As it is, we are looking pretty good here. We are looking at a touchdown at 17:46. We're not supposed to be here till 18:05, so we're going to probably be a good 15 minutes early at the gate. Block quite high at an hour and 5 for a short flight, but again, depends on which runways you're taxiing to. If you're taxiing along the runway, we did have a little glitch on the pushback with the engine start, but I would say we're doing pretty good time-wise here. All right, we got 7,000 feet set there. We do have the altitude constraints in there, so I'm going to go ahead and set 3,000. 3,000 feet is set. Roger, 3,000. I see 3410 crossing Tanner. 3,400 crossing Tanner as the restriction there, so meet that constraint. Oh. Yeah, you see, and this is like the whole idea of like doing like short flights. Like even an hour-long flight is really quite quick by the time you level off and cruise. Because the other thing too is like the way this flight was set up, because we had a lower cruise altitude, we ended up leveling off at a very kind of reasonable, having a reasonable kind of 8-9 minutes in cruise to kind of deal with setting up for the approach and talk about all this stuff. Even when you do like an hour-long flight, you kind of end up in the same boat where you're, I'm just going to do speed selected for now, 250. You kind of end up in the same boat where even if it's a longer flight, if you follow the SOPs correctly, and most airlines are not really supposed to do any kind of setup until you're in cruise. If you wait till you're in cruise at 250, this thing does not want to slow down now. Come on, you're violating the speed limit here. I'm going to back off the vertical rate here. Help encourage it to slow down. They'll just pick a higher cruise altitude and you'll still only be in cruise for like 8 minutes on like an hour flight. So even those Toronto-Montreal ones, which are about almost 55 minutes on average in the air, it's still not enough. You're just feeling constantly overwhelmed, just trying to catch up. And then imagine doing them 3 of them back to back. And that's what they do sometimes, or even 4. 3 or 4 of those kind of short legs back to back, because this is not a very high credit day as a result of these short legs. Like this is only 2 hours of credit for flying, 2 hours and 10 minutes of credit for flying. Something else would get tacked onto this day probably one way or another, whether it be another flight to Punta Cana, or whether maybe you do this Punta Cana turn and then you end up doing like the flight to Newark or something. That would be like a normal duty day where you do 5-6 hours of credit and fly and be working for 9 to 10 hours. That's kind of a normal thing. This is kind of a little bit unusual here almost. Alright, let me start getting slowed back to the approach here, and I should probably make a call here actually. San Juan traffic, JetBlue 1632 is 15 miles west of the field, setting up for a straight-in ILS runway 10 San Juan. And then there's the whole CTAF thing too, of looking up the frequencies, and I'm not against the idea of looking up the frequencies. I think it's a great idea, but boy, it's just so much more work again. All right, I got to get these flaps going out here because we're not slowing down here. All right, I'm going to get the VS back to VS minus 1,000 here, just to get the flaps out. Flaps 1. Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
back to 190. Let's try and get this thing slowed down here. I might need to drop the gear. Oh, that's neat. I would love to see that. Alright, low glide, slow blue, Cat 3 dual, autopilot 1 and 2, low star. And I'm good down to 2200 now, so I'm going to go ahead and set 2200. Flap 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
Gear down.
Cabin crew be seated for landing. Gear down.
Alright, so this is kind of sloppy. Intercept the glide slope from above, but this is permissible if you do it the right way. And the key thing with intercept the glide slope from above in an Airbus, VS
Checked.
mode. Don't try to do it in open descent or even managed descent. You do it in VS mode. Even now, we're having a bit of a hard time catching it here. We got full speed brakes. We got the gear down.
2,500.
Radio altimeter alive.
Glide slope star, missed approach altitude, 3,000 feet set. Bit of a struggle to get down there again. About to overspeed too as we're trying to catch the glide slope here. Fantastic, I love it. It's going into overspeed. We're at idle with full speed brakes. Full flap 2. And she just does not want to quite do it. Does not want to slow down, and you end up behind the 8-ball. We might have to do a go around here if this thing does not start to slow down here shortly. So I can't get flaps 3. You do end up in this situation sometimes in an Airbus glide slope where you just can't slow down anymore. Trying to get down this glide slope is just not working for me. Alright, autopilot off. I'm going to try one more thing here. Hitch to level it off for a second here just so I can get the flaps. Flap 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Flaps full.
Speed checked. Flaps full. Pitch. Sink rate 1000.
Hi, Captain. The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. Alright.
Checked. Checked.
Landing checklist.
ECAM memo.
Landing no blue. Landing no blue.
Landing checklist completed.
Glide slope.
Wow, how did I end up in such a bad spot here? It's a horribly unstabilized approach.
Sink rate.
Tank rate.
$100. 40, 30, 20, retard.
Spoilers. Reverse green. D-cell.
Reverse green, so reverse 2.
$70 knots.
Manual braking. Well, that was a horribly unstable approach. I really should. I was contemplating doing the go around. I was going in the back of my head. I was like, we might get out of this. We might not get out of this. It was kind of. I was all over the place on it. It was one of those ones where it's like you can kind of get there if you really try. And really, there was multiple opportunities that we should have considered to go around. And I kind of looked at it and I was like,
Please remain seated with
It's not
your
like we're
seatbelt
not
fastened
early.
until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign.
Got it
and
back at the
aircraft
end, but this
parked
is
safely
the
at gate.
322, and this just shows you what the
This will
bus
be your
can be like
indication it is
sometimes.
safe to move
It's a
about the
fantastic
cabin.
demonstration.
Gather your belongings and disembark. We'd like to thank you for flying with us today. We appreciate your business and hope to see you again on a future flight.
After landing checklist.
Radar and predictive wind shear system.
Off.
After landing checklist completed.
Alright, what did I say? Alpha 2, right?
Roger.
So that was, but even in the 320, now mind you, this is a fully loaded 320. We were pretty much at max landing weight for the 320. If you're above the slope, it can be very hard sometimes to slow down, and that was really right at the limit of where we had the ability to still slow down and make it down in time. In the 321, and I certainly hope this is well modeled, and I think Fenix is on the right track. I hope this is well modeled in 321. The 321 is even worse for not slowing down when you need it to sometimes, and you really need to plan ahead and really be on top of things. If you're not on top of things, if you're not slowing down early, getting the airplane configured early, it's so easy for the 321 to roll away from you, especially if you're close to max landing weight in a 321. That's a heavy airplane when it's at max landing weight. It really is. Alright, so which of these gates is Alpha 2 here? I feel like it's this one here. I think I see all the ground equipment parked there. Alpha 1, Alpha 2, so I feel like this might be Alpha 1. This might be Alpha 2. Nope, this says Alpha 2 right here. Okay, this is Alpha 2. Alright, so let's get the lights off. Lights on, radar is off, accumulator's good, engine ATS is off, and AP bleed can go on at this time. I don't even see the marshaller. Where's the marshaller? Is he in the building? He's probably in the building, isn't he? Ugh. Landing in Las Vegas last week was super rough. Crosswinds were crazy. Touched the ground, had a big rudder correction that made everyone in the plane go, whoa, the whole way. It's not always perfect. It really is not. We do our best every day. Lots of landings are going to be great. Sometimes you're going to get a landing that's just not great. That just everything just kind of works out where it's not going well. All right, so I don't. Oh! Look, you see his wand sticking out of the building there. So I'm just gonna have to kind of guess where he wants me to stop, which is gonna be right about there, I think. All right, that's that. That's on. APU's on. Engine's off. Alright, remember to submit the flight. I will not forget. Thank you for the reminder. Alright, she's definitely cycling down. Beacon off. Alright, and here it comes for the deboarding. It's going to do it all automatically. Let's just check and make sure on the doors page that everything's disarmed. Perfect. So he's got all that off. Yeah, I was very close. I was very close to calling go around on that one. It seemed like finally when we got full flaps, the airplane finally slowed down, but it was tight. It was tight at the end, and it would not have been unreasonable to call a go around. You can intercept the glide slope from above in an Airbus, but it's tough. It's really tough, especially if you're anywhere close to the max landing weight, because then the airplane really does not go down and slow down very well at all. You really need to be on the 3-degree glide slope. It won't do anything more than that. LGCIU2 fault clear status, or sorry, clear landing gear, and remove status. All right, so let's just check my wheels here. Pretty warm on that one. That was a pretty warm landing there, but that's okay because we're not taking the airplane, so we don't care. Let's see here. We checked the status already. Drifts 0.3, 0.1, 0.0. That's all very good. It's under the limits. And let's check the fuel burn. 1650 burned. 38 in the tanks, which adds up to 4854, which is what we started with. So that's it. Transponder should be standby. Parking checklist. Shutdown checklist.
Parking brake or chocks.
Set.
Engines.
Off.
Wing lights. Fuel pumps.
Off.
Parking checklist completed.
And that's probably brakes hot. Park brake preferred chocks. Delay takeoff for cool. Clear brakes. And no change in status, remove status. ECAM actions are complete. And that's it. Alright, so 2 legs down in 1 day. Oh my god, I'm exhausted. That was a hell of a lot of work. Submit the flight, yes please. But we'll get paid for 2 flights. And we've got 2 flights already under our belts for season 13 of A Pilot's Life with Captain Nat, live on Twitch. That was a lot of work, and that approach did not go well. Both times today we were kind of high on the approach. And part of the problem too was just the fact that it was such a short flight that by the time I was able to kind of realign myself with what the airplane was doing and catch up to what the airplane was doing, I got to the whole brief. I was like, I was a little bit behind on my awareness of what was going on. And it didn't help that we also had these high crossing restrictions and that inbound. But yeah, that was a lot of work. It was way more work than I'm certainly used to. 2 quick flights in a row, it can be tough, and sometimes you just got to slow yourself down, and that's one of the strategies we honestly use sometimes. Is if it's going to be a really short flight, we might even just slow the speed down below the planned speed, just to slow the process of the flight down, just to make it so that it's a little bit more reasonable. I'm just going to turn the volume down on the outside there, just so that we have more time to get through everything that needs to get done. The other thing you can do is, if you have time, set up even the arrival before you depart. So the fact that I didn't even look at the star and look at everything, my unfamiliarity with the airports did not help me in this case. I probably could have, should have, there we go, been more ready for it, in all honesty. I should have been more ready for it. I should have been, yeah, I should have been ready for it. I should have looked at stuff ahead of time, been able to make a better plan, have a plan before we ever left Punta Cana for this arrival, and then been more on it. I kind of got through everything, but boy, it was such a rush that I fell behind the airplane. It doesn't help as well that you're single pilot too, and then that's a big VATSIM, you know, that's a big flight sim MSFS kind of problem, is that you're single pilot all the time. So you're doing the job of 2 people, and sometimes most of the time you can kind of get away with it, but there's just these days where it's such a busy environment that you just need that extra time to get everything done, to get the briefing done, to set up the arrival, to get the numbers, to fly the airplane down the descent and make sure everything's going to work out properly. And I knew kind of when I was hitting those altitude restrictions, like, these are going to put me a little bit on the high side. I should have been ready to slow down sooner and be ready for it. I was not, and then I learned my lesson from that one. Definitely with the next ones, we'll try to be a little bit more on it with these short flights, but I don't think there's any more short flights though. For the rest of this career here, it's looking like it's definitely not as short, so, or for the rest of the season I should say. There's nothing close to that short now. Everything else, the shortest flight from here on out is 585 miles. So that's like an hour-and-a-half, 2-hour flight. So I'm not going to have the same problem again. And that's good. So it's interesting to see that the schedule map changes based just on what's upcoming. So we're at San Juan. Next, Newark down to Tampa. Newark down to Tampa. Then back to JFK. Then back to San Juan. Then across to Orlando, DCA, Fort Lauderdale, New Orleans. It's going to be a little bit repetitive. We're going to be doing a little bit of the San Juan kind of stuff here, but then the second half of the season, especially DCA, I love DCA, Fort Lauderdale over to New Orleans, some kind of different stuff, some not just always out and back from the hub. So I'm kind of liking that idea as well. So anyways, that's what we got coming up. Anything interesting happening in my pilot's life career here before I sign off for the day? We've got let's see here, what have we got? We've got a few inbound messages here. Salary income credited, so $116 I got paid. This was back for my January flights. New website up, they updated their website with a few new features on it, and Saturday tour launch. So there's an event every Saturday, LTFM to ESSA, looks like the next one this Saturday. They've got some events going on in here now, which is kind of good, but they did do some updates, like I said, like that addition to the schedule there was really kind of nice, just so you can kind of see what's coming. And yeah, I think I'm going to stick with JetBlue for a while. And I don't know how long. I might do a 3rd season of JetBlue, just because I really want to be flying the Airbus when the 321 comes out. I was kind of trying to defer this season a little bit, just to kind of, a lot of people want me here. What am I getting paid right now? I'm getting paid now. People are offering me jobs that are not going to pay me more. My pay rate right now is $52.73 an hour. Whew, that's a good pay rate. Is anyone offering me more than that? Who would like to take a pay cut? All these companies are offering me less money. Thank you, but no. Thank you for your interest. but no. But yeah, JetBlue's got, I think, a wide enough array of routes that I can finally, for the first time I think in my pilot's life career, do a third season at the same airline. So if the 321 hasn't come out by the time we finish this season, we can probably still do it the next season. We could do another season because there's just so many flights at JetBlue. It's such a diverse route map. And I did generate some interesting schedules even this last time around before I settled on this one. But there's a lot of flights. There's a lot of destinations. So there's a lot of places we can go, and a lot of it comes out of New York and Boston. I haven't done that much out of Boston. A lot of it comes out of New York. So that getting in and out of New York is kind of gets a bit repetitive. But there's a lot of stuff we can fly to up and down the Caribbean, up and down the east coast of the U.S., even out to Chicago, places like that. Lots of places we can go. So I think I'm going to stick with this, possibly even for a third season. It's a long way out right now, but I really want to fly the 321 in the JetBlue livery as well. So I'm hoping Fenix is working hard on the 321, and a lot of what they said makes me believe that the delay is not going to be super long, because a lot of what they said was like we're creating the basis for the 319 and the 321 as well. So a lot of the engine management and engine design, you know, the back end, the scripting of it and everything, it was designed to be very universal, so that way you can switch from CFM to IAE engines very, very easily with the same, you know, model. They can import different data, but it still interacts with the sim the same way. Hopefully this means that when we need the bigger engines for the 321 or the smaller engines for the 319, all of this kind of development will happen faster. So I don't have a whole lot of faith. It's more just a cautious optimism, but the fact that they've done so much with the big stuff, the heavy lifting here now with Block 2 version 2, makes me think that it's very reasonable to expect that the 321 could be out in the next 3 months, maybe 6 months. I'm certainly hoping before the second half of this year. I would certainly hope it's out. That's just me purely speculating, but hoping that we can get this one, because the 321, she's a beast of a machine. She's a lot of fun to fly, but boy, if it looked like these approaches were catching me out today, the 321 is going to catch people out all the time. When you're a heavy 321, the thing does not slow down. It's got the same spoilers as a 320, but with that much more inertia. If you're not ready, if you're not flying already decelerating, you know, hitting 10,000 feet, it's going to be a tough airplane to fly. Sometimes you get the heavy full gross weight takeoffs, you end up with a green dot speed that's like 243, 248. I've seen 248 where the minimum clean speed in the aircraft is 248, and yet below 10,000 feet you're supposed to be limited to 250 with a 2-knot margin on your speeds. I've seen 248. That's how heavy it can be when you're 96 tons, you know, all up weight trying to get this airplane off the ground. So, but I think it's going to be so much fun. The challenge is part of the fun. I should have probably done a go around in hindsight, maybe, and I'm going to sit there and second guess myself for a little while. I mean, we were kind of unstable on the initial parts of the approach below 1,000 feet, especially there was some instability there because I was trying to chase the glide slope and get it back after I leveled off. We had it, but then we couldn't decelerate, so I leveled off to get the speed back, to get the final flaps down, to get the drag out there that we needed, and then of course catching the glide slope, I never quite stabilized myself on the glide slope again. It was VMC, so I was kind of okay with it. I could kind of see what I was doing, but I wasn't terribly happy with it. It was IMC that would have been a no-brainer go around, and that's the problem you can get yourself into. But anyways, that's enough for me for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you had fun following along, and thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. I don't know if we're going to do a pilot flight stream next week, because next week is March break, so kids are home all week. We'll be trying to find some stuff to do. We'll see if we can get it in. No guarantees, but I will try. I'll see if I can get something in the meantime, though, guys, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, whatever you're out there doing. Hopefully I'll catch you on the VATSIM scopes, or see you out there in the... Yeah, I didn't pull a PIA. I was going to talk about that. We'll talk about that during the next stream. We'll talk about PIA during the next stream. Anyways, guys, take care. We'll see you guys all on the next stream. Have a great day.